MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 636, The President's True Identity, 2 chapters combined. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Deep into the night, Qinming glanced back, feeling an urge to return. Zhou Tian, a burly man with a smile on his face, patted him on the shoulder and asked, "What are you thinking about?" Niu Wuwei, clad in a Taoist robe, stood with his hands behind his back, gazing at the magnificent city ahead, Yaoguang. "Sixth brother," he said, "eldest sister is taking a special interest in you." At this moment, Qinming wanted to know Meng Ziyu's personality so he could prepare himself in advance. A scene from the past flashed before his eyes. The white tiger female grandmaster, her silver hair cascading down her waist like a waterfall. Her skin was as smooth as jade, her face enchantingly beautiful with a hint of wild grace, and her eyes bore golden patterns. The dream insect, sealed within the spiritual ice soul, slept like a fairy barely an inch tall. Her nearly transparent wings were dotted with flowing stardust, shimmering with a brilliant light. These were 2 completely different species. Could there really be a connection between them? Qinming pondered, lost in thought. Zhou Tian took out a snow-white conch and initiated a call. "Brother Ji, I've arrived at your place." A voice came from the conch, accompanied by the crisp clink of crystal glasses and the boisterous chatter of tipsy young people. "What? Brother Zhou, you're here. Why didn't you tell me in advance? Wait right there, don't move. I'll come to greet you immediately." The man named Ji on the other end instantly sobered up. His tone was incredibly enthusiastic, and as the sound of a chair scraping against the floor echoed, he seemed to rush out of the room. "Brother Ji, who is it that's worth you personally leaving your seat? Just send your subordinates. We still have to go to the private room in the next cave dwelling to offer a toast. That's a very distinguished guest. You guys don't understand. I'm leaving now." The man named Ji rushed out, pushed open the small cave dwelling's door, and shouted excitedly, "Brother Zhou, wait for me, I'll be there in a moment." Qinming looked on in surprise and said, "Fourth brother, you certainly have a wide circle of acquaintances, you have old friends wherever you go." Zhou Tian waved his hand and said, "I accompanied an elder out to sea a few years ago and have been here before. It's normal to have a few acquaintances. This little brother Ji is a native, so it's best for him to make the arrangements from here on." Niu Wuwei looked ahead and said, "This immortal city is quite different from cities in other places." On the land ahead, skyscrapers stood tall, piercing the clouds. Their brilliant lights, shrouded in the night mist, looked like a fallen river of stars. Zhou Tian broke into a bright smile and said, "Yaoguang City was designed with ancient architectural concepts in mind, which is why it looks so unique. This place is not just the trade center for the nearby regions, but also a sacred land for cultivation. The underground is covered with high-grade springs, and it's also the intersection of the Sea Dragon Vein and the Earth Dragon Vein. The dragon chi is exceptionally dense here, forming the posture of 2 dragons playing with a pearl. Within this giant city, numerous races resided, and many powerful major factions had established branches here. The major commercial alliances and top-tier Dao lineages were not located on immortal mountains, but within those skyscrapers, which were all cave mansion-type buildings. Zhou Tian said, "This place is a bit unconventional. It's filled with people from all walks of life, where mortals and immortals coexist. Humans, elves, demons, golden giants. It wasn't unusual to see dozens of different races on the streets, all bustling and prosperous." Niu Wuwei nodded. "This place has a thriving commercial sector, a crossroads of many civilizations." Zhou Tian said, "Have you heard of the resurgence of ancient civilizations? Yaoguang City is taking that exact approach. So far, it has developed with a truly unique character." In the night sky, a conical white shockwave tore through the air. A flying vessel had clearly broken the sound barrier, leaving a trail of strange white mist in its wake. Only after it came to a halt nearby did a thunderous boom roll through the air, the turbulence still churning violently. "Brother Zhou." A tall man leapt from the small spacecraft and rushed over, his face lit with a brilliant smile. Zhou Tian patted his shoulder. "Xiao Ji, it's been a few years. Your cultivation has improved significantly." Ji Xingran was tall and slender, with fair skin and exceptionally handsome features. However, his beauty was more delicate than heroic. He shook his head. "My meager cultivation is hardly worth your notice, Brother Zhou." Zhou Tian smiled. "It's quite impressive. You're only in your early 30s, and in another 2 years, you'll reach the perfection of the 4th realm. Even in Yaoguang Immortal City, you'd be a standout figure, a quasi-saint disciple level cultivator." Ji Xingran said, "I can't compare to you, Brother Zhou. You are around my age, yet you have long since surpassed our generation, standing far above us. That is a realm we dare not even aspire to." In the past, Zhou Tian would have gladly accepted such lavish praise. But now, with his two sworn brothers beside him, each more formidable than the last, he had to keep a low profile. Brother Zhou, brothers, let's enter the city first. Ji Xingran invited them to board the ship. In the blink of an eye, they vanished into the night and entered Yaoguang Immortal City. Beneath the night mist, countless skyscrapers were ablaze with light. Their crystal curtain walls reflected shimmering colors, and Dao patterns faintly pulsed upon them. The streets teemed with a river of vehicles, and the evening's neon lights and bustling nightlife seemed to have just begun. As they flew through the night sky, Zhou Tian remarked, "This is a new model of spaceship, isn't it? Much sleeker than the ones I saw a few years ago." Ji Xingran replied, "It is indeed the latest model. Its internal Dao patterns are extremely complex and can withstand a Grandmaster's attack. If you like it, Brother Zhou, feel free to take it." This was already the top-of-the-line configuration among small spaceships, and its price was astronomical. Even in this city, such vessels were a rare sight. Zhou Tian waved his hand and said, "Forget it. I don't stay here often, and it wouldn't be of much use to me, all flash and no substance." Ji Xingran chuckled awkwardly. "True enough. For you, Brother Zhou, a vehicle like this is no different from one made of paper. You'd be better off catching a flood dragon to get around." In the blink of an eye, the small spaceship touched down on the roof of a skyscraper. As the four of them stepped out, Zhou Tian spoke. "I haven't properly introduced them to you yet. These are my two brothers." Initially, Ji Xingran had been all smiles when facing Qin Ming and Niu Wuwei, but that was merely the courtesy he was expected to show. Now, he keenly noticed that Zhou Tian's attitude toward the two was completely equal. They were absolutely not some little brothers in need of his care. Could it be that these two are also future great sages? Ji Xingran was startled by his own conjecture, finding it hard to believe. Yaoguang Immortal City held a unique geographical position, situated where the sea met the land. Merchant caravans were endless, and masters gathered here like clouds. It was not unheard of for a great sage to pass through. However, for three figures like Zhou Tian to travel together, that was truly astonishing. The look in Ji Xingran's eyes shifted. For such a group to arrive in Yaoguang City was one thing if they were just passing through, but if they came to stir up trouble, it would be like a fierce dragon crossing a river. After all, in this era, the old bones were all ailing, forced into hibernation, each more low profile than the last. Even those who possessed primordial qi or Xuanhuan qi dared not use them lightly. Their existing quantities were extremely limited, and it was said that the current environment could no longer regenerate them. Unless it was a blood battle between supreme Dao lineages or a sudden emergency, no one would willingly waste such rare strategic resources. Ji Xingran, his face beaming with a pleasant smile, said, "Brother Zhou, and you two elder brothers, please follow me this way. I'll make the arrangements for tonight, I'll be sure to host you well." They descended from the rooftop passage into the interior of the cave mansion-type building. Though it looked like a single building from the outside, the interior space was vast, many times larger than one would imagine. Zhou Tian chuckled. "In terms of age, you're older than those two, but there's absolutely no problem with you calling them elder brothers." Upon hearing this, Ji Xingran was momentarily stunned. Was Great Sage Zhou hinting that these two were extraordinary individuals? His heart pounded violently. Could it be that these two are under 30? If they were that young yet could stand on equal footing with Zhou Tian, it was simply unimaginable. What kind of monstrous geniuses are they? I've never heard of anything like this. A tidal wave of shock surged through Ji Xingran's mind. He quickly calmed his emotions, maintaining a warm and polite demeanor, his every gesture perfectly measured. Then, he asked, "Brother Zhou, shall we head to the Demon Court Liaison Office?" Zhou Tian shook his head. "No need. I've already reported in using my conch." Someone with the potential of a great sage needed to be cautious when entering a region teeming with powerful experts. They had to notify the old men back at their own Dao lineage. The Demon Court had no branch office here, yet it still maintained an Earth Immortal level figure on standby. This spoke volumes about the prestige of Yaoguang Immortal City. Noticing Niu Wuwei's gaze, Zhou Tian spoke up. "Your Tushita Palace is far from here. You don't even have a minor outpost in this region." As for his sixth brother's background, Zhou Tian preferred not to mention it publicly. Back at the Bodhisattva's dojo, he had suffered the pain of golden threads piercing his back and had already tacitly accepted its connection to that mysterious clan. However, he knew little about that clan himself. It was only after Meng Jiu narrowly escaped death from a calamity that they had shared information and begun studying that extraordinary technique. Sure enough, deep within the towering structure lay a hidden realm of its own. Ji Xingran left and then returned, bringing back a minotaur and two humans. "I wonder what their true identities are," someone remarked inside a cave mansion private room. Clearly, there were those here who were not on good terms with Ji Xingran. Tonight, they were originally scheduled to meet an honored guest. But Ji Xingran had left early. If word of this reached the guest, it would surely leave a negative impression. Someone spoke up, Mu Jingsheng, we are all in Yaoguang City. Even if you have a grudge against Ji Xingran, you shouldn't be stirring up trouble on an occasion like this. Mu Jingsheng replied coldly, watch your tongue. I was merely making a casual remark. Why are you trying to escalate this into a major issue? Someone else spoke up in Mu Jingsheng's defense. Tonight, a noblewoman from the Quasi-God Association is attending. She's equivalent to a saint of the Supreme Dao lineage. For Ji Xingran to suddenly leave is indeed a bit disrespectful. Aren't you afraid of offending such an esteemed guest? Under the hazy night sky, Ji Xingran was hosting a welcome banquet for Zhou Tian, Qinming, and Niu Wuwei. The cave mansion's private room was a scene of breathtaking beauty. Nearby, spring blossoms bloomed in warmth, while in the distance, snowflakes drifted down, illuminated by artificial moons. Zhou Tian remarked, Xiao Ji, there's no need for such extravagance. This is a medium-sized cave mansion. It's just a meal, why go to such lengths? Inside the private room, a world of ice and snow unfolded. Plum trees stood in groves, their blossoms proudly braving the cold. The overall area was truly not small, and a fragrant aroma wafted through the air. Up close, the grass was fresh and green, exotic flowers bloomed, and a fox maiden danced gracefully. It was all too extravagant. Zhou Tian felt there was absolutely no need for such ostentation. Ji Xingran replied, Brother Zhou, you are the most honored guest in my heart. You saved me back then. Now that you've come to Yaoguang City, as your brother, I must provide you with the highest level of hospitality. Amidst the gentle tinkling of zither music, Ji Xingran rose several times to propose a toast, informing Zhou Tian that he had already arranged 3 Demon Emperor-grade cave mansions as their residences. For any cave mansion-type building, adding the word, Emperor, meant an astronomical price. Of course, if Buddhists came, the Buddha Lord's cave mansion would be the most prestigious. If Taoists came, the Tao Venerable's chamber would be the most expensive. The names differed, but the status remained the same. Zhou Tian set down his wine cup and said, if you keep this up, I won't ask you to come out the next time I pass through. Making you spend such a fortune is simply too much. Ji Xingran shook his head. Brother Zhou, please don't stand on ceremony with me. It is because of you that I was able to smoothly become the heir to the Ji family, otherwise, there would have been many complications. Qinming gained a deeper understanding of the influence great sages wielded. Even the top families of Yaoguang City had to treat such figures with extreme caution. In truth, both he and Zhou Tian still had a long way to go before truly becoming great sages. All their potential had yet to be fully realized in the future. Even so, they were already highly valued by all parties. Many people even dropped prefixes like potential or future and simply addressed them as great sages. Just as he did now, Ji Xingran looked at Qinming and Niu Wuwei with utmost respect and said, 2 great sage brothers, this younger brother's knowledge is shallow, and I did not know your origins earlier. I hope you can forgive my ignorance. Niu Wuwei waved his hand. We're all brothers here, no need for such formalities. Though his ox face was always solemn, his personality was far from rigid, he was simply a habitual, stone face. After a while, Ji Xingran rose. Brother Zhou, a female saint from the Quasi-God Association happens to be here tonight. I'm going to offer her a toast. I'll be back soon. Go ahead, Zhou Tian waved him off. He didn't live here permanently and wouldn't easily interfere in such matters. Ji Xingran had his own social circle. After Ji Xingran left, Qinming spoke up. Why do I feel like I run into people from the Quasi-God Association everywhere I go? He had a significant karmic connection with the association and wanted to learn more about it. Zhou Tian replied, this organization is vast, its tentacles reaching into every corner. Their old president is a mysterious figure whose power is truly formidable. Even among the supreme organizations, he's considered a ruthless, formidable powerhouse. There was even a branch of the Quasi-God Association here in Yaoguang Immortal City. Qinming nodded. Even in the distant Night Prefecture, they had the Three-Eyed Sect, which was practically a front for the organization. It was truly outrageous. Furthermore, the president by his side was very likely a reference point for that supreme ancient monster who led the Quasi-God Association. Niu Wuwei added, even in the distant Tushita Palace, I've heard that the lord of the Quasi-God Association is a ruthless, formidable powerhouse. Rumor has it he might have even lived 2 lifetimes. Zhou Tian nodded gravely. There are indeed such rumors. It is said that 2 of the divine lords in the last few millennia were actually the same person. Because of this, the outside world was rife with tales about the ancient monsters of the Quasi-God Association, all shrouded in mystery. Hearing this, Qinming's interest was piqued. He needed to learn everything he could about such a formidable figure, for he feared their paths might cross in the future. After all, he had already thwarted the Lord's plans. Brothers, Qinming said, please tell me more. How did he live 2 lifetimes? Every supreme expert throughout history has failed to walk the path to longevity. Did he come close to succeeding? Zhou Tian replied, he is truly extraordinary. I'll use he for now, though I'm not even sure if this person is a man or a woman. In any case, his power is unnervingly great. He paused, then added thoughtfully, there is a rumor, however, that he is actually replicating someone else's path. Qinming asked, is that so? Whose path is he replicating? Niu Wuwei spoke up. Some of the ancient monsters in the Tushita Palace region have mentioned this. I've heard it too. The target of his replication is a remarkable woman who passed away 7 or 8,000 years ago. Qinming's heart hammered against his ribs at the words. His mind immediately flew to the silver-haired president. If the president met her 7 or 8,000 years ago, he mused, doesn't that mean she must have been born over 10,000 years ago? After all, figures of her stature can live for an incredibly long time. Zhou Tian sent a telepathic transmission, his voice a low murmur in Qinming's mind. I've heard that with the right terrain and a mysterious blood-flesh formation, one can make a corpse spiritually awaken and return to life one day. Back then, that woman successfully revived. Qinming was lost in thought. This proved that the president had indeed successfully resurrected in the past. And now she has revived again in this era. Doesn't that make this her 3rd life? The thought sent a chill down his spine. He desperately wanted to pull the president out of hiding and confront her right then and there. Forget it. I'll just pretend I don't know, Qinming decided. Did the president truly revive in a state of confusion this time, or is she just putting on an act for her benefit? He couldn't tell. He couldn't even begin to guess. At this moment, it was best for him to pretend he knew nothing. Niu Wuwei said, actually, some of the great figures from ancient times chose this steady path, borrowing the power of heaven and earth's fortune to allow their physical bodies to recover. The remnants of longevity and the Blood Calamity Organization, on the other hand, resorted to more drastic methods, directly carrying out various modifications and performing incredibly bloody experiments that defied the laws of nature. Qinming asked casually, what path did Tiān choose? Niu Wuwei shook his head. Perhaps he rode his ox and vanished into the depths of the night mist world, or perhaps he awaited revival after being buried. I'm afraid only Lord Xuanhuan knows the truth. It could be confirmed that Tiān had indeed passed away back then, his lifespan having reached its end. His final years were troubled, and he had fought a bloody battle that nearly shattered even his supreme treasure, the Vajra ring. Innate past life wisdom. What is that path like? Qinming asked. Zhou Tian said, it's flawed. In the end, you won't completely be yourself. Moreover, the awakening of innate wisdom cannot be repeated, because each time it occurs, a portion of the soul's origin is burned away. As expected of a prince from the demon court, Zhou Tian was privy to many deep secrets. Then what about second brother, Tai Yi? Zhou Tian said, in this life, his form and spirit are fused. If he reaches the peak again, he will definitely not choose the path of innate wisdom after his lifespan ends. He continued, besides, those with innate past life wisdom aren't necessarily great figures. Even ordinary people can sometimes succeed, inexplicably awakening memories of the past. Niu Wuwei shook his head and said, there's a theory that when ordinary people awaken, it's because they missed the opportunity for revival long ago and awakened late. They are considered failed innate wisdom possessors. Could it be that reincarnation truly exists in this world? Qinming asked, his expression grave. Zhou Tian shook his head. Actually, it doesn't. But the truth is far more complex than we imagine. Fourth brother, please tell me more. Qinming poured him some wine. Zhou Tian's voice turned low. The so-called innate past life wisdom is a kind of imprint left by ancient powerhouses, stored within the fortune of heaven and earth. When the time is right, it either pours down from the heavens or rises from the depths of the earth, merging into a physical vessel that resonates with it. Qinming pondered this for a long time before finally saying, it is indeed mysterious and complex. After some discussion, he steered the conversation back to the Lord of the Quasi-God Association. Niu Wuwei said, his attempt to replicate the extraordinary woman's path actually had a flaw. He lacked the corresponding scriptures. Although his physical body was revived and he came back to life in his second life, there were still some problems. Qinming asked, which scriptures? In truth, he already had an answer in his mind. Niu Wuwei said, the myriad apertures illumination technique was a cultivation technique created by that woman back in the day. The second volume was lost to later generations. So it was this true scripture. Qinming hadn't expected that the president had created this technique herself, rather than cultivating a technique she had learned from someone else. Zhou Tian spoke up. There's also a rumor that the woman was actually the first president of the Quasi-God Association. Qinming took a drink of wine to steady his nerves. The president was the very source of the quasi-god association. He had never imagined such a thing. Zhou Tian sent a secret voice transmission. There's another version of the story. It is said that thousands of years ago, when the current lord of the quasi-god association's first life was coming to an end, he scoured the organization's archives and numerous ancient texts to find the woman's resting place. In the end, he dug her up. It could be said that only the organization's successive leaders could have located the first president's grand tomb. The current lord of the quasi-god association had betrayed his own trust. Otherwise, the woman's tomb would likely have remained undisturbed. This is the height of ingratitude, Qinming said, feeling a sense of injustice on the president's behalf. Her successor had committed such an atrocious act. Zhou Tian added, according to notes left by some ancient monsters of the demon court, that extraordinary woman's physical body was originally expected to revive for a third life. However, the process was interrupted by human interference. Niu Wuwei shook his head upon hearing this. The current lord of the quasi-god association is ruthless and selfish. To ensure his own survival, he followed the first president's path, daring to do anything, even the sacrilege of desecrating his ancestor's grave. Such incidents were rare in the supreme Dao lineage. Qinming remarked, in that case, the extraordinary woman's fate was truly pitiful and tragic. Her body was likely destroyed to erase all evidence. Zhou Tian shook his head. They wouldn't dare. Niu Wuwei added, beings who walk this path possess a secret treasury within their bodies. Anyone who dares to desecrate or defile their remains will surely face retribution, as the secret treasury might erupt violently. Zhou Tian's tone grew more mysterious. There are rumors that the extraordinary woman's body still exists. After all, her third life's revival could have succeeded. The current lord of the quasi-god association still hopes to reference her path in this life, but he doesn't dare place her in a top-tier longevity creation land. He fears she might suddenly awaken, connect her past and present lives, and retaliate against him. The current lord of the quasi-god association only wanted to exploit the final value of her body, to observe the changes within and gather the information he needed. Qinming was lost in thought. Under such dire circumstances, the president had actually been resurrected again. It was truly an extraordinary feat. He guessed it must be related to the president's previous accumulation. If she hadn't been dug out early, she might have successfully awakened on her own without needing an external divine soul to jumpstart the process. Qinming frowned, recalling Xiao Chong's previous life as a generation-defining insect emperor. This person had likely also been betrayed by a successor from the alliance of strange insects who had stolen his legacy. To encounter such an unfilial heir was truly miserable. Even after death, one's grave would be desecrated and their teacher's legacy stolen. Niu Wuwei said, that little brother Ji has been gone for so long. Could he be in trouble? Zhou Tiandao replied, if the people on the other side are smart enough, they won't be so short-sighted. A moment later, Ji Xingran returned, followed by several people. They were all young elites from Yaoguang City, each with a significant background. Among them was a woman with waist-length purple hair and two jade-like dragon horns on her head. Her eyes shone brightly, and her bearing was outstanding. She was actually a dragon maiden. Hailing from the depths of the vast ocean, she had joined the quasi-god association and attained the rank of a saint-level figure. Earlier, she had heard about Ji Xingran's sudden departure. Through secret channels, she quickly discovered that he had allegedly been acquainted with a great sage in the past. This immediately sparked a suspicion in her mind. The dragon maiden had recently detained Ji Xingran, and in the course of their conversation, she had confirmed that great sage Zhou might indeed be present here tonight. Otherwise, Ji Xingran would never have acted this way. That was why she had come in person. Earlier, Mu Jingsheng and his companions had been looking for a casual opportunity to mention the matter and trip Ji Xingran up. Now, they watched in stunned silence as the dragon maiden, a beaming smile on her face, bowed to a man inside the cave dwelling's private chamber. Greetings, great sage Zhou, she said, her voice brimming with courtesy. The others who had followed her felt the hairs on their necks stand on end. Please, divine maiden, have a seat, Zhou Tian replied calmly. And these two are. The dragon girl paused, her pupils constricting as she realized she couldn't gauge Qinming and Niu Wuwei's cultivation levels at all. People she couldn't fathom, yet they sat as equals with Zhou Tian. Could they also be great sages? Greetings, Taoist brothers, she said, bowing again. When the others saw the divine maiden of the quasi-god association personally pouring wine for the three men, their scalps tingled with shock. Mu Jingsheng's face turned deathly pale. Lost in a daze, he hurriedly sent a voice transmission to Ji Xingran to apologize. I shall not disturb you further tonight. I will visit the three great sages tomorrow, the dragon maiden said, departing quickly. The rest of the group remained frozen in shock. Three great sages, all here together. Zhou Tian's snow-white conch chimed. He answered it, his expression turning to surprise. Eldest sister, you arrived 3 days ago. I'm just handling a few things. Yes, sixth brother is here, sitting right next to me. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 637, 6 Great Sages 5009 plus words. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Qin Ming frowned. Why did he keep getting the feeling that fourth brother was selling him out? Zhou Tian wore a smile as he gently swirled his translucent wine glass. The bright silver wine spun like a galaxy, releasing a rich aroma. The snow-white conch at his ear emitted soft ripples. Qin Ming desperately wanted to pierce through the void, see the other end of the communication artifact, and ask, White Tiger Maiden, is that you? It's been a long time. When Zhou Tian put away the conch, he found the two brothers beside him staring at him. Niu Wuwei said, eldest sister is already in Yaoguang City. She's quite concerned about sixth brother. Zhou Tian immediately smiled and said, eldest sister has some matters to handle. She also sends her regards. A future Dao Venerable, even among the 6 great sages, is a brilliant pearl. Qin Ming secretly sent a voice transmission to Niu Wuwei, fifth brother, I can be considered a half-disciple of Tushita Palace. We are of one mind and should advance or retreat together. Fourth brother is acting strange. We must be cautious while traveling. He set down his wine glass and asked directly, fourth brother, are you a cattle trader? Trying to sell your brother? Niu Wuwei's blue ox face hardened. Isn't it a human trafficker? Fourth brother, are you eyeing sixth brother? Let me tell you, sixth brother is not only my sworn brother, but also my brother-in-law. Zhou Tian chuckled awkwardly, then waved his hand. Brothers, what are you thinking? Would I really plot against you right to your faces? He explained, back then, eldest sister was disciplined by a senior expert and barely survived. As it happens, sixth brother knows that senior's techniques, so eldest sister has taken a keen interest in him. Qin Ming pressed him, fourth brother, tell me the truth. Is eldest sister planning to deal with me? Still denying you're selling out your brothers? Niu Wuwei glared. Qin Ming unified all techniques, his surging blood qi merging with his true form. A pair of pale gold hands reached out, pinning Zhou Tian to the spot. Simultaneously, Niu Wuwei snorted white mist from his nostrils, upping the pressure on Zhou Tian and unleashing his strongest extraordinary technique, the Vajra ring. A gleaming kun steel ring snapped around Zhou Tian's neck. Beside them, Ji Xingran stared, completely dumbfounded. That was Great Sage Zhou, a figure of immense status, standing aloof and looking down upon his peers. And yet, these two brothers had rebelled, taking Great Sage Zhou down right then and there. Just how arrogant and fearless were they? He quickly rose, cupped his hands in a bow, and said, two great sages, please show mercy. Let's talk this through. Zhou Tian was also shaken. Caught off guard, he had been pinned down by fifth brother and sixth brother. These two youngest sworn brothers were absurdly strong. He hastily explained, it's a misunderstanding. Brothers, what are you thinking? The Dream Insect clan and that senior who uses the special cultivation technique became friends after a fight. They've long since buried the hostility. Zhou Tian continued, besides, one of you is from Tushita Palace, and the other is from a mysterious family. I'd have to be insane to provoke two such terrifyingly powerful factions at once. We're sworn brothers, where is the trust between us? He took a deep breath and said, I suspect eldest sister is simply interested in your family's special technique. After all, she suffered a great loss because of it. Of course, she doesn't want to steal it, she's just fiercely competitive. Qin Ming pondered this, judging by his words, it seemed Meng Jiu still didn't know that he was the Hu Ding Ming from the Kaiyuan Grand Auction. Ji Xingran was profoundly shocked. Great Sage Zhou of the Demon Court held such a status, yet here he was, speaking softly and patiently to these two brothers, trying to prove his innocence. Qin Ming laughed heartily and released the pale golden hands that had been pressing down on Zhou Tian's shoulders. Through the suppression just now, Zhou Tian's composure had been rattled, and he had inadvertently revealed some useful information. Qin Ming had sensed through resonance that fourth brother was no simpleton. Not only was his defense maxed out, but he had also pushed his law-ending domain to its absolute limit. To top it off, he was skilled in divination, and the turtle shell secret map on his back was a formidable tool. Fourth brother's methods for avoiding misfortune were no less effective than the dream insects. Qin Ming personally straightened fourth brother's disheveled collar and said, fourth brother, you need to tell us everything in advance. Otherwise, it's easy for us to overthink things. Qin Ming decided that it would be best to use fourth brother as a calamity-avoiding turtle in the future. After all, the man was a master diviner who could evade major calamities. If there was any uncertain danger, they could send fourth brother in first to test the waters. Niu Wuwei added, fourth brother, sixth brother, and I are still young. We're at a hot-blooded age and prone to impulsive actions. You must treat us with sincerity. You're a stone-faced green ox, Zhou Tian thought, looking more solemn than a 60-year-old man. You're always so stiff, yet you dare to say you're prone to impulsive actions. But a smile remained on his face as he nodded heavily. Of course. With a flick of his finger, Niu Wuwei shattered the Vajra ring that had been constricting Zhou Tian's neck like a collar. Ji Xingran breathed a sigh of relief and marveled in secret, these two newcomers are absolutely ferocious. Newly ascended great sages in their 20s. They're like figures from a myth. Before this, Ji Xingran had always seen Zhou Tian as an insurmountable mountain for their generation. But now, he found himself intimidated by the two sworn brothers. Zhou Tian was also deep in thought. Why does my divination keep failing against them? Are they anomalies who transcend even my own level? Qinming poured Zhou Tian a drink and said, "Fourth brother, be honest with me. Is eldest sister planning to exchange some extraordinary techniques with me? As the youngest brother, I'm terrified." Zhou Tian thought to himself, seeing you act like a villain, I'm the one who's terrified. Qinming clinked glasses with him. Let's make a deal. If eldest sister wants to spar with me, you have to back me up. He hadn't traveled thousands of miles just to be bullied. Zhou Tian was startled and asked, you want to go up against eldest sister? Hearing this, Niu Wuwei paused, his expression one of profound admiration. This sixth brother is a real troublemaker. We haven't even met yet, and he's already planning to defy the heavens and make a move against eldest sister. Ji Xingran felt like he was sitting on pins and needles. Is this something I'm even allowed to hear? He desperately wanted to get up and flee the scene. Even he found this sixth great sage incredibly unsettling, bullying great sage Zhou and daring to challenge the eldest sister. It was enough to make anyone's skin crawl. Qinming sipped the celestial brew in his cup, which shimmered like starlight. The eldest sister is likely a very proud and confident person, isn't she? Zhou Tian looked surprised. How did you know? Qinming smiled. The fact that she's so focused on me is a dead giveaway. Zhou Tian stopped him. Don't use the word focused. It's easily misunderstood. Qinming continued, with such a strong sense of pride, she wouldn't resort to bullying a junior when we meet, would she? That's hard to say, Zhou Tian replied uncertainly. The eldest brother was not one to be bound by rules or conventions. Qinming said, this is where I need your help. If she wants to spar with me, you must speak up for me. Insist she use a Dao sealing ring to limit her power and fight me on equal terms. Zhou Tian looked conflicted. I can't influence her will. Qinming lowered his voice. Both you and fifth brother are on my side. Can't you at least try to persuade her? Besides, fourth brother, you must have been suppressed by her before, right? Don't you want to explore the forbidden extraordinary techniques of the Dream Insect clan? I'll help you all scout them out. Niu Wuwei immediately nodded. I hope for a fair fight. The Dream Insect clan is too mysterious, I want to see what they can do. Mainly, if Meng Jiu were to size up sixth brother upon their first meeting, it would make him feel very insecure. Naturally, he approved of Zheng Guang going in first. Qinming smiled. I think the other two sworn brothers will also be pleased with this. He knew very well that as great sages, who didn't have a strong sense of pride. He believed that whether it was Tai Yi or Mu Xinian, they would both want to probe Meng Ziu's true strength. If he, the sixth brother, were to be the one to act as the canary in the coal mine and test the waters, that would be even better. Qinming swirled his wine glass. With all our great sage brothers speaking up together, I think with eldest sister's proud temperament, she definitely won't back down, right? Zhou Tian clinked glasses with him. Sixth brother, I know you're rebellious and untamable, but I never expected you to be this wild. You're already planning to teach eldest sister a lesson before you've even met. Qinming dismissed the comment. She was the one who started keeping an eye on me first. Ji Xingran wiped away sweat, really not wanting to hear this. He stood up and said, I'm going to see the dragon maiden off. Niu Wuwei said, she left long ago. Qinming said, what are you still avoiding her for? We've already finished talking. Zhou Tian comforted him, all right, Xiao Ji, this has nothing to do with you. You don't need to be afraid. Qinming asked, so, when will eldest sister come to see me? Zhou Tian informed him, she's handling a matter right now, it could be as early as tonight, or as late as tomorrow. Ji Xingran thought to himself, didn't you say you were finished talking? Why are you still plotting right in front of me? Qinming put his arm around Zhou Tian's shoulders and said, fourth brother, swear an oath right here about the things we just discussed. Zhou Tian. After a while, the atmosphere finally relaxed. Ji Xingran clapped his hands. A beautiful dancer in the distance immediately swayed her willow-like waist and came forward to offer a toast. Zhou Tian, tall and imposing with a righteous air, was surprisingly at home in such a setting. He soon began drinking cross-cupped wine with a woman whose hair was as red as fire and whose face was exquisitely charming. Qinming was equally composed, discussing the meaning of life with a beautiful elf. Listening closely, Ji Xingran realized he was having a very serious discussion, asking about the different branches of the elf race and their average lifespans. The elf maiden before him had long, dark green hair and a smile as bright as a flower. She replied, "There are sun elves, moon elves." Qin thought of Liguang of the Sun Elf clan, who would one day be eligible to compete for the position of queen. She had once tried to bind him with an immortal contract, only to be struck by the backlash. His mind wandered as he said, "They migrated as a clan and vanished completely. I wonder where my Sun Elf maidservant is now." He speculated that the clan had likely departed through some mysterious ancient mist gate. In the Jade Capital realm, the Sun Elf clan had always seemed out of place, likely being outsiders. Beside him, Niu Wuwei maintained a solemn expression even in such a setting. Listening to the bewitching music and seeing his two brothers so at ease, he felt he should also let his guard down and immerse himself in the atmosphere. Beside him, the six-tailed white fox woman smiled sweetly. Her fluffy ears twitched on either side of her palm-sized face. After pouring the wine, she held the cup between her red lips and pearly teeth, intending to feed it to the hidden disciple of Tushita Palace in this manner. Niu Wuwei felt an immediate wave of discomfort and politely declined. The six-tailed white fox woman smiled softly. From her experience, she could tell at a glance that this minotaur rarely visited such entertainment districts and was still feeling a bit inhibited. She decided to lure him to a side room. She rose to her feet, casting a glance back that could enchant 100 men. "Great king," she cooed, "let's play a game. Come and catch me." Zhou Tiandao chimed in, "Fifth brother, what are you still standing there for? Go on." Qin also laughed. "Fifth brother, what's wrong? Are you actually feeling shy?" Niu Wuwei immediately stood up. "What's there to be shy about?" Then, he gave a sharp command, "Seize." Instantly, the six-tailed white fox woman shrieked, "Ah!" A Vajra ring formed from white mist struck her, then ensnared her, literally catching her on the spot. The white fox woman was furious, wanting to curse him, "You actually caught me. Who catches people like this?" Fortunately, Niu Wuwei had held back his strength, otherwise, the fox woman would have surely exploded on the spot. Zhou Tian covered his forehead, unable to bear the sight. Qin was truly impressed. Seeing this, Ji Xingran was at a loss, unsure if this would provoke the great sage Ox Head. Qin laughed, "It's fine. My fifth brother slays demons and devils all day. It was just habit." His hand slipped. "You scared this little slave to death," the six-tailed white fox said, patting her chest. Niu Wuwei also knew his performance made him look like a rookie. He forced himself to remain calm and said, "This Dao master truly dislikes fox women." The words were spoken without much thought, but Ji Xingran took them to heart. The rest of the encounter was relatively harmonious, as Ji Xingran was skilled at livening up the atmosphere. He had seen enough. This Lord Niu was clearly new to this place and completely inexperienced. To avoid any further awkwardness or accidents, he decided not to arrange any women for the Green Ox. Reluctantly, he personally accompanied Niu Wuwei to discuss the Tao of demon slaying and subjugation. Zhou Tian laughed, "Xiao Ji, are you sure you're talking about the legitimate way to subjugate demons?" "Absolutely legitimate." Late at night, Ji Xingran personally escorted the three men to their Demon Emperor grade cave mansions. Niu Wuwei watched in stunned silence as Zhou Tian, a great sage, proved unable to hold his liquor. He had to be helped into his room by a woman with a curvaceous figure and a bewitchingly beautiful face. Zhou Tian sent a secret telepathic transmission, "Xiao Ji, my two brothers here are young and new to this place. They're probably too shy to ask for this kind of arrangement." "Understood." Ji Xingran nodded, signaling he knew what to do. Not long after, a knock sounded on the door of Qin cave dwelling. A woman of extraordinary beauty stood outside, ready to enter the moment the door opened. "I don't need this kind of entertainment. I have cultivation to do tonight. Leave," Qin ordered, dismissing her. "I come from a prominent family in Yaoguang City." The woman tried to state her true background. She was no common courtesan. Initially, she had felt insulted by the arrangement, but upon learning that even great sage Zhou valued these men, she had quickly let go of her inhibitions. "Even a saint would only be allowed to pour wine for me here," Qin said, shutting the door and sending her away. Meanwhile, another issue arose at Niu Wuwei's Demon Emperor grade cave mansion. In the middle of the night, a woman from the Bullhead tribe knocked on his door. Niu Wuwei stared at her, utterly bewildered. Why was this Minotaur woman here? The woman, a Minotaur, carried herself with effortless grace. "I am Niu Qingqing," she announced. "I have come to seek Lord Niu's guidance on the technique of demon slaying." While Niu Wuwei stood there, stunned, she strolled casually into his cave dwelling. Niu Qingqing was indeed a woman of some standing, ranked as one of the 10 most beautiful minotaurs in Yaoguang City. Of course, the minotaur race held a low status in the city, which was why Ji Xingran had been able to arrange her visit so quickly. As a socialite, Niu Qingqing's initial manner was impeccable. However, she soon noticed that the Minotaur man before her was reluctant, grudgingly instructing her in demon-subduing techniques. What a bore, she thought. So proper. He must be pretending. Finally, she tried to move closer, only to be slapped across the face and sent flying out of the cave. I may have the appearance of a bull, but I am actually a human. Niu Wuwei roared in fury. To prove his point, he transformed on the spot, his form shifting completely into that of a human man. He wasn't strikingly handsome, but he radiated an air of righteous integrity. A human. Ji Xingran stared, dumbfounded. He felt as though his good intentions had backfired. Fortunately, he was well prepared and quickly arranged for a human woman to visit instead. As a result, the woman came out weeping and wailing, having been beaten out the moment she entered. He claims to be of the human race, but he clearly gave me 2 oxhoof prints. The woman, a member of a certain noble clan, was furious as she showed her injuries to Ji Xingran. She had a black eye, with 2 oxhoof prints perfectly covering her eye area. Her eyelids were swollen and bruised black and blue. I, Lord Niu, have no interest in women. Niu Wuwei declared indignantly. Ji Xingran's mind raced, and he immediately jumped to a vivid conclusion: could this great sage Niu prefer men? This thought made him feel quite uneasy and a little threatened. Fortunately, he calmed down and stopped letting his imagination run wild, praying for the night to end quickly. The next morning, Zhou Tian and Qin Ming learned of the situation. They both froze for a moment before bursting into laughter. Early that morning, Qin Ming began studying Meng Jiu again, eagerly asking fourth brother, I forgot to ask yesterday, what are the eldest sister's areas of expertise? Zhou Tian replied, her cultivation is extremely high, making it impossible to fully grasp. As for the domains she's involved in, we only know the techniques the Dream Insect clan has made public. Then, as if remembering something, he paused and said, oh, right. She is a master of the way of transformation. Furthermore, anyone whose soul aura she has touched can never hide from her, no matter what they do. Niu Wuwei commented, to borrow dreams for enlightenment, she must have a unique mastery of the spiritual domain. Qin Ming's expression darkened. If the White Tiger female grandmaster from the past turned out to be none other than Meng Jiu, then a future encounter would make it impossible for him to keep his identity hidden. During their great battle back then, after Hu Dingming's physical body was destroyed, Qin Ming had possessed the White Tiger female grandmaster's body, and their soul lights had briefly touched. Zhou Tian informed them, by the way, second brother and third brother are in the neighboring cities. They should arrive today. Qin Ming asked, when will eldest sister appear? What exactly is she dealing with? Zhou Tian replied, I've told you before, eldest sister once defeated an emperor insect. In the observable night mist world, among the many strange insects, the dream insect ranked 5th, while the emperor insect held the 3rd spot. Yet, the emperor insect had been defeated by Meng Jiu. Zhou Tian's expression turned grave. The emperor insect refuses to accept defeat, he said, and is stirring up trouble. The so-called emperor insect was a forbidden species, rarely seen for ages. This time, one had finally emerged from the depths of the night mist world, only to be defeated by a dream insect. It was now seething with indignation and resentment. As the native guide, Ji Xingran led the 3 men to several mysterious locations within Yaoguang City. Soon, they arrived at an underground auction house. They entered through a residential building, descending straight into the depths of the earth. A dense, swirling dragon chi permeated the passage. This place is a gray zone, Ji Xingran explained. Ordinary people wouldn't dare set foot here. It's quite dangerous. But today, with 3 great sages traveling together, he had nothing to worry about. No one, no matter how reckless, would dare wage war against 3 supreme Dao lineages at once. The underground was a hidden paradise, featuring a magnificent structure. Once the auction began, Qin Ming's expression darkened. What had he just heard? One of the techniques being auctioned was the great parasitic technique. His mind flashed back to the supreme blood battle, where they had encountered the parasitic civilization. The auctioneer announced, ladies and gentlemen, I must state up front, this is a fragmentary technique, not the complete scripture. However, it remains of immense reference value. Even as a fragment, its starting price was a staggering 3 million day gold. Qin Ming listened as the bids climbed higher and higher, his heart chilling. To think that someone would covet such a vicious technique, desperate to study it thoroughly. Truly, the human heart is unfathomable, and desire is an insatiable void. Soon after, another secret technique ignited a bidding frenzy. The longevity technique. Starting price, 4 million day gold. Highest bidder takes all. This was also a fragmentary text, and its origins were highly sensitive, involving matters like the longevity blood calamity. Qin Ming was stunned. How can a technique that crosses such red lines be auctioned here? Zhou Tiandao explained, that's why this place is a gray zone. Sometimes, it even becomes an abyss. After winning a bid, you might face hunters, or become the hunter, on your way out. Exactly, Ji Xingran nodded. Sometimes, certain forbidden techniques are deliberately released as bait, waiting to hook their prey. Qinming and Niu Wuwei decisively abandoned all thoughts of participating. They resolved to remain mere spectators, treating the event as an eye-opening experience. Even if a secret technique or ancient artifact caught their eye, they would not bid. Everyone, there is a commission here to find the legendary Yiming true scripture. A reward of 2 million day gold will be offered to anyone who provides a definite clue. It was not a physical transaction, yet such a high-priced bounty was being announced at an auction. If anyone possesses the actual text of the Yiming scripture, even a fragment of 5 pages or more, the client is willing to pay 10 million day gold. Qinming was stunned. What level of cultivation technique was this? Even a fragmentary scripture was so valuable, he couldn't imagine how terrifying the complete version would be. The legendary scripture. Zhou Tian exclaimed. What's its purpose? Qinming asked. Zhou Tian lowered his voice. It can alter one's bone structure and enhance innate talent. In the later stages, it can change one's fate and ultimately allow one to swap lives to change fate. As for the specific details, he didn't know, these were all records from the demon court. Qinming's heart surged with a wave of emotion, unable to calm down. He felt a strong sense of familiarity, thinking of a certain cultivation technique he had mastered, the life-altering scripture. In truth, the contents of this scripture were quite diverse. Besides altering bone structure and other such techniques, it also contained various oddities and miscellaneous tales, such as the dragon absorbing water, the sacred demonic essence cave, and secret aperture medicine. In truth, the scripture had no title. It hailed from the beyond the realm Pure Land, brought secretly to Qinming by Li Qingyu years ago. He had mastered it completely, later bestowing upon it the name life-altering scripture. Countless rumors swirled around it. Throughout the ages, even the most renowned masters had only grasped fragments of its truth, none had ever fully comprehended its essence. So its true name is Yiming Scripture, Qinming thought. His mind churned with a sense of profound regret. For all he possessed of the life-altering scripture, the Yiming Scripture were a mere 3 pages of its main text. The version in Night Prefecture, which no one had ever managed to cultivate and which the Beyond the Realm Pure Land kept locked away in its highest vaults, was merely the introductory section, a preface, to be precise. As for the main text, Qinming had encountered the first page by chance while exchanging scriptures with Jian Weidao, Xie Lin, and others from Pugong. He had managed to study and comprehend it then. In fact, Pugong also possessed only the first page of Yiming Scripture's main text. At the time, that group had come to Night Prefecture in search of the complete scripture. Unfortunately, Night Prefecture held no part of Yiming Scripture's main text. Later, the artifact spirit of the mystic woman Heavenly Halberd had provided Qinming with the pages, bringing his total to 3. Qinming never expected to hear this true scripture from 100 million miles away, and he was naturally shaken. Moreover, its origins were likely terrifyingly high. Niu Wuwei spoke, the Yiming scripture. I've heard a little about it. According to the old men of Tushita Palace, it is a supreme true scripture written in the twilight years by an existence who had reached the supreme domain. This scripture did not concern conquest or slaughter. Yet, the strongest cultivators of each generation had sought to cultivate it deeply. In its early stages, it could alter innate talent. In its later stages, it could actually change one's fate. And ultimately, it even aimed to exchange persons. Yiming scripture, to change fate, was truly terrifying. Why would it make one feel so unsettled? Qinming asked, wanting to know more. Zhou Tian shook his head. There are no detailed annotations. Qinming took this to heart and committed the Yiming true scripture to memory. Yaoguang Immortal City was the center of this region and was naturally incomparably prosperous. The fire spring could be controlled, allowing for a distinction between day and night. Before dusk fell, Qinming, Zhou Tian, and the others met with Tai Yi and Mu Xinian. Sixth brother, it's been a long time. Mu Xinian, dressed in a white robe, came forward and gave Qinming a warm embrace. He was elegant and noble, wearing a smile that exuded approachability. They naturally wouldn't ignore Niu Wuwei, showering him with praise. So this is fifth brother, one said. The future Dao Venerable of Tushita Palace, destined to look down upon the night mist world. Niu Wuwei replied humbly, you two brothers flatter me too much. Tai Yi, ever the steady one, spoke calmly, we are merely speaking the truth. Having a future Dao Venerable join us only elevates the prestige of our organization. Tai Yi, now awakened to his innate wisdom, exuded an aura completely different from the dull, wooden youth Qinming remembered. Qian Cheng remarked, how come I feel like sixth brother has gotten a lot stronger since we last parted? Qinming smiled. I've gained a bit of insight, and my cultivation has improved slightly. Zhou Tian spoke up, eldest sister is on her way. Let's wait for her here. Mu Xinian smiled. The 6 sages are gathering for the first time. Tonight, we drink until we're drunk. We'll probably end up fighting later, Zhou Tian thought to himself. He quickly initiated a private communication, urgently exchanging messages with second and third brother. The expressions of Tai Yi and Mu Xinian instantly changed. Sixth brother. Is he a natural rebel? The very first time they met, he had already pierced fourth brother's tortoise shell in the Bodhisattva's dojo, drawing blood. Today, before he had even met Meng Jiu, the youngest sixth brother was already researching how to make a move on eldest sister. Zhou Tiandao said, as sworn brothers of the villain, you need to get used to this. She's here. Tai Yi looked into the distance. Eldest sister has arrived, Mu Xinian added. In the distance, a slender figure flickered in and out of existence, a true mastery of the shrinking ground to an inch technique. With each step, she vanished, only to reappear instantly before them. The former white tiger female grandmaster had once possessed a head of silver hair. The woman before them now had a waterfall of purple hair cascading to her waist, shimmering with the luster of starlight. Her skin was like cream, her face exquisitely beautiful, and a faint white mist swirled around her body. Qin knew that the dream insects were a master of transformation. He wasn't certain if this was his old acquaintance. However, if she had ever touched his soul, his current disguise would be completely useless. This meant he was at a severe disadvantage. At that moment, Qin spoke, Huzi, is that you? The words fell, and a dead silence swept over the entire scene. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 638, Meng Jiu 2 chapters combined. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. The scene fell dead silent, so quiet you could hear a needle drop. Even the members of the 6 sages went completely still, each doubting their own ears. Huzi. Who was he addressing? Everyone stood dumbfounded, their expressions frozen. A wave of disbelief swept through the crowd, their gazes all fixed on Qin. Has this sixth brother gone mad? Does he even know what he's saying? If he had called her, sister who, it might have been forgivable, at least the word, sister, was there. He could have just been nervous and used the wrong title. But, Huzi. What kind of godforsaken name was that? How did he dare utter those 2 words? The buildings, rising and falling in height, were bathed in the glow of the evening sun. Their staggered silhouettes were tinged with a pale gold, wrapped in a warm halo of light. Meng Jiu moved using a technique that shrank the earth beneath her feet. With every step, she seemed to flicker in and out of existence, instantly traversing the distance from afar to stand right before them. Draped in the evening glow, the edges of her slender figure were traced in gold. She seemed to radiate light, and though her feet were planted in the mortal world, she appeared as if she were about to transcend it. The shadow she cast stretched long behind her, a silent testament that she remained in the human realm. Right. Sixth brother already knew eldest sister would come for him. He's seizing the initiative, he's already made his move. Wrong. He's seizing the initiative with his mouth. Zhou Tian and Niu Wuwei exchanged thoughts silently. Tai Yi and Mu Xinian snapped back to their senses. If Zhou Tian hadn't briefed them beforehand, they wouldn't have known what Zheng Guang was trying to pull. They marveled at sixth brother's sheer audacity. He was openly challenging her. If the atmosphere had been amicable, Qin wouldn't have acted this way. But since he knew Meng Jiu intended to toy with him, and that it was now inevitable, why be polite? His provocation was a calculated move to determine if she was indeed the white tiger female grandmaster. Meng Jiu possessed a unique ability to recognize old acquaintances. But Qin, conversely, couldn't even discern her true nature. He detested being passive. Thus, he chose to slip up, verbally while his mind remained sharp, intently observing the woman before him. By defying convention, he hoped to provoke an emotional ripple from her. Qin focused on achieving resonance, determined to unearth the truth. Of course, if this failed, he still had a backup plan. In the distance, another figure was approaching, bathed in the lingering glow of the sunset. What's going on? Qin heart pounded. After the initial ripple of emotion, he could no longer detect any from Meng Jiu. Was her Dao heart truly that unshakable, or was she simply that fast to adapt? Within Yaoguang City, the fire spring conjured a sunset of startling realism. The entire city was bathed in a crimson glow, its streets dappled with shifting light and shadow. Meng Jiu stood beneath the evening clouds, her figure slender and graceful. Her purple hair flowed like smooth satin, and her peerless beauty was framed by brows as elegant as distant mountains. When her eyes stirred, a galaxy seemed to swirl within them. So this is fifth brother, the future Dao Venerable. Her gaze swept over the group, but she addressed Niu Wuwei first. Zhou Tian introduced him. Yes, eldest sister, this is fifth brother. Even in the presence of Meng Jiu, the top-ranked member of the 6 sages, Niu Wuwei remained his usual solemn and austere self as he stepped forward to greet her. Zhou Tian smiled. And this is sixth brother, Zheng Guang, also known as the Supreme Good Grandmaster. Only then did Meng Jiu turn her gaze to Qin Ming. Sixth brother, she said, what was it you were shouting just now? Instantly, a heavy silence fell over the area. Every eye in the group fixed upon Zheng Guang. To dare be so offensive upon their first meeting. He truly is a born rebel. Qin Ming's heart went cold. He had failed to resonate with any valuable information. The woman before him had a will as unyielding as immortal iron, her emotions utterly stable, leaving no opening whatsoever. Eldest sister, please forgive me, Qin Ming said, stepping forward with a natural and sincere expression. He gazed at the figure gradually approaching from a distance and explained, seeing a face so similar, my mind went blank. I mistakenly thought a companion from my youth had come back to life and appeared before me. Qin Ming sighed softly. Alas, time cannot be reversed. How could those who have passed away ever reappear? Forgive me, I lost my composure. He can pull that off. Zhou Tian watched him in silence, thinking, sixth brother, you really can talk your way out of anything. Niu Wuwei, meanwhile, was secretly grumbling, sixth brother, are you backing down? I was waiting for you to stand your ground and challenge Insect Meng. Mu Xinian, dressed in a scholarly white robe, wore a gentle smile. Sixth brother, what's the matter? I thought you were calling eldest sister, Huzi. Clearly, third brother was stirring the pot, hoping Qin Ming would hold his ground and have an immediate exchange with Meng Jiu. Qian Cheng felt a pang of disappointment. Naturally, he wanted to see sixth brother size up Meng Jiu. Both he and Mu Xinian had already been tipped off by Zhou Tian, and they were well aware of sixth brother's wild streak. At this moment, Qin Ming caught a glimpse of their shifting emotions. He couldn't help but feel stunned. Just how desperate are these people to see me fight Meng Jiu? In an instant, Qin Ming felt that, the will of the people, was something he could use. His sworn brothers all seemed to have a rebellious bone in them. However, he now wore a look of melancholy and explained softly, Huzi was my childhood companion. Even Niu Wuwei's stone-faced expression twitched slightly. He desperately wanted to say, sixth brother, that's enough. Another figure approached through the sunset glow, her face clouded with displeasure. It was a woman in her 20s with a pair of fluffy ears and bright, spirited eyes. Her hair was cut short and neat. Her bobbed hair would have seemed out of place anywhere else, but in Yaoguang City, where ancient civilizations had been revived, it was perfectly normal. The short-haired woman looked capable and efficient, but her expression was hostile. Damn it, this bastard actually dared to call her, Huzi Tiger Cub, that cursed name. It was precisely because Qin Ming had spotted those furry ears that he felt the situation could be somewhat salvaged. Nearby, Ji Xingran wiped sweat from his brow, genuinely impressed by sixth master's sheer audacity. He had listened to the three great sages conspire yesterday and knew exactly what was going on. He had already recognized the short-haired woman as Bai Zilan, the eldest young lady of the Bai family in Yaoguang City. Can't you tell the difference between a man and a woman? The short-haired young woman demanded, looking furious. Qin Ming offered a sincere apology. I'm sorry. I saw your short hair and fluffy ears from a distance and thought you looked sturdy and tiger-like. I mistook you for someone else. Bai Zilan's hair practically stood on end, and she nearly burst into a torrent of curses. What kind of bizarre description is that? Calling me, sturdy and tiger-like. He's doing this on purpose. This is a second insult. This man is absolutely detestable. The Bai family belonged to the Phantom World Cat clan, a noble lineage with immense influence across the entire region. This was why Bai Zilan had been specially assigned to receive Meng Jiu. Sixth brother, you're a real piece of work. Zhou Tian thought to himself. He, too, felt that his sixth brother had lost his nerve at the last moment. He sent a secret telepathic message, sixth brother, do you still need our help? Qin Ming replied immediately, of course I do. I'm willing to be the one to probe Meng Jiu for you all. When the time comes, just speak up for me. Zhou Tian was quite satisfied. Good. I've already informed second brother, third brother, and the others. Meng Jiu's nose was a delicate bridge, and her lips were cherry red, her features as exquisitely carved as if by a master craftsman. A smile spread across her face as she said, sixth brother is young and promising. A great sage in his 20s is extremely rare in the night mist world. His future achievements will be boundless. Her bone structure was distinct, neither seductive nor bewitching. Standing in the bustling city, she exuded a sense of transcendence, yet every gesture carried an invisible majesty. Qin Ming replied, eldest sister is a heavenly immortal. You flatter me too much. You too. Just start fighting already. This was the inner voice of every great sage present. Qin Ming's guess was completely correct. As great sages, they were all incredibly proud. Zhou Tian, Mu Xinian, and the others wanted to gauge Meng Jiu's true cultivation. Even the most composed Qian Cheng was no exception. Sixth brother, you are truly modest. Meng Jiu smiled, her expression thawing like the first frost of early spring, brightening the space and instantly dispelling the tense atmosphere. Her tone was gentle as she said, why are we all standing here? Let's find a place to sit and drink together. Zealand, go make the arrangements. Zhou Tian, Niu Wuwei, and Mu Xinian were all deeply disappointed. They had expected a fierce battle, but none had materialized. Qinming secretly breathed a sigh of relief. As long as they weren't targeting him, everything was fine. At the same time, a doubt lingered in his mind. He still couldn't be sure whether Meng Jiu was connected to the White Tiger female Grandmaster. Mu Xinian, gentle as jade, spoke with a smile, it has indeed been a long time since we last gathered. This is the perfect occasion to welcome eldest sister back. Meng Jiu waved her hand gently. Today, the focus is on welcoming fifth brother and sixth brother. They have just joined our ranks. As their elder sister and brother, we should take good care of them in the future. Tai Yi added, the gathering of the six sages is a grand event in itself. This was no exaggeration. If word got out, it would surely cause a sensation throughout the city. The top floor of the heavenly immortal Tianqian building in Yaoguang City. This was, of course, a cave-dwelling style structure, with a whole other world hidden within. However, standing before the special crystal floor-to-ceiling windows, one could gaze out at the city's nightscape and the undulating ocean beyond the city walls, offering an exceptionally wide vista. Today's arrangements, made by Bai Zealand, were all exceedingly elegant. Not far away, the zither's notes tinkled softly as a dozen mermaids danced gracefully in the spiritual lake within the cave-dwelling's private dining room. Zhou Tian felt a twinge of regret that there was no one to pour his wine this evening. After the group arrived, they seated themselves around a massive revolving round table, and a series of specialty delicacies were served one after another. For instance, the seven-colored eel, adorned with seven glowing spots, was arranged in a curved shape on the platter, resembling the Big Dipper and shining brilliantly. Then, when a basin-sized purple extreme shell was placed on the table, its spiritual radiance shone like a purple sun resting in the dish, its light intertwining with the Big Dipper. When the so-called sound snail was gently heated, beautiful music actually played from within, accompanied by a rising mist of hazy white vapor, from which a faint, ethereal fairy emerged to dance. Meng Jiu rose to her feet. Welcome, fifth and sixth brothers, to our ranks. I hope that after 1,000 years, we can still gather and raise our glasses just as we are today. Zhou Tiandao declared, of course. All six of us great sages can reach the absolute peak. Mu Xinian added, 1,000 years from now, we will surely have ascended together. In the night mist world, we will watch over and support one another. Meng Jiu smiled and raised her cup. From this day forward, we shall walk the same path with one heart, never forsaking each other. Though the years may pass and the great eras change, the six of us will always stand side by side. Excellent. A toast to the years, and a toast to us, the six great sages. May we all become the supreme cultivators, looking down upon this boundless night mist world. The atmosphere at the table instantly grew fervent. Even Ji Xingran felt his blood boil with excitement, as if he could already see the path of the six great sages, ascent, their future illuminating the way with boundless radiance. Bai Zealand, usually seen as a headstrong and stubborn girl, set aside her resentment for a moment. She rose, raised her cup, and drained the fine wine in a single gulp. Mu Xinian smiled. Fifth brother, you are a future Dao venerable, destined to be the powerhouse who will command Tushita Palace, a true lord of a supreme Dao lineage. Niu Wuwei immediately waved his hands in denial. There are still grand uncles and grand ancestors ahead of me in line. People with the potential to become Dao venerables appeared centuries ago, it's hardly my turn yet. Tai Yi spoke, they missed their chance, but you've found yours. The inverted Tushita Palace has just revived, and you've risen at the perfect moment. Niu Wuwei shook his head. I'm still hesitating, unsure if I should enter. Our Tushita Palace offers two paths, the human Dao venerable and the outer heaven Dao venerable. Qinming was astonished. This was the first time he'd ever heard of such a thing. Zhou Tian praised, it seems fifth brother has great ambition, choosing an extraordinary path to achieve an extraordinary Dao. He then turned to Qinming. Sixth brother, at only 23, you already possess the potential of a great sage. Your foundation is truly astonishing. Mu Xinian also sighed, of the six of us, sixth brother may be the youngest, but his future achievements might be the most brilliant. Brothers, please don't overpraise me, Qinming thought. They're so worried about me doing well that they're just looking for trouble, aren't they? I want to keep a low profile and avoid drawing Meng Ziyu's attention. The steady Tai Yi asked, sixth brother, what's the deal with your mysterious family? Zhou Tian sighed, golden threads interwoven, piercing through all things, jade medicine applied to the body, nourishing longevity qi. Truly remarkable. Qinming wanted to punch them all. The very things I'm afraid of, they keep bringing up. Mu Xinian said, "Sixth brother, if you can speak about it, perhaps you could clear up some of our confusion." Qinming shook his head. "You probably won't believe me, but I was separated from my family as a child. I only vaguely remember some ancestral cultivation techniques, which I stumbled through cultivating until I reached this level. I have no idea what kind of family I have behind me. In my own eyes, I'm just a rogue cultivator." Zhou Tian immediately clapped his hands. "That's exactly how your clan operates. The first thing out of their mouths is always, rogue cultivator. Damn you." Qinming really wanted to beat the fourth brother. He was certain that Zhou Tian, who had been pinned down and forced to swear an oath last night, was still feeling resentful. Today, he was determined to cooperate with him, wanting to set up a fair duel between him and Meng Jiu. Qian Cheng also nodded. "This proves how much your family values you. They are deliberately tempering you." Mu Xinian asked, "Eldest sister, you once encountered a senior from this clan. Do you know more about them?" Qinming's heart turned cold. None of these people were wishing him well. He felt a sudden urge. If he were forced to fight Meng Jiu, after it was all over, he would definitely go back to beat the second brother, then blast the third brother, and kick the fourth brother. Niu Wuwei chimed in, "Yes, hearing you all say this, I've realized it too. Sixth brother's ancestral cultivation technique is truly wondrous. It gave me a hard time during our last sparring session." Qinming turned to look at him, deciding he would beat up fifth brother as well when the time came. He added this to his mental tally. Meng Ziyu's purple hair flowed with starlight, her clear eyes like a spiritual lake reflecting the moon. Though her demeanor was gentle, she radiated a powerful aura. She turned to Qinming, smiled faintly, and said, "Sixth brother, you've seen it, they all want me to face you. What do you think?" Qinming chuckled. "Eldest sister, your talent surpasses even that of a great sage. I am far from your match, so I won't join in and make a fool of myself. I think it would be more appropriate for eldest sister to beat them all up, one by one." Meng Jiu beamed. "How about you and I team up and beat them all up together?" Qinming immediately nodded. "That works. As long as I'm teaming up with eldest sister, there's no problem." He figured Meng Jiu was likely at the Grandmaster level. Combined with her great sage tier talent, she would be utterly terrifying if she truly let loose. In that case, he would only need to handle Zhou Tian. Meng Jiu could take care of the other three. However, he wasn't sure of Qian Cheng and Mu Xinian's cultivation levels, but he assumed they were lower than Meng Ziyu's. Zhou Tian immediately declared, "Eldest sister, I respect you immensely. I have absolutely no intention of challenging you." Mu Xinian was also taken aback. Wasn't the rebellious sixth brother supposed to be the one causing trouble? Why was the wildfire now aimed at them? He also shook his head, indicating he had no intention of fighting. Niu Wuwei, however, stared with his wide, ox-like eyes, looking completely innocent. Only Tai Yi appeared calm and unhurried. He took a sip of wine before speaking. "Eldest sister, actually, sixth brother wants to challenge you." Qinming immediately shot him a glare, wishing he could expose his brother's secrets. Meng Jiu turned her gaze to Qinming. "Sixth brother, look at this. You've put me in a difficult position. On one hand, you want to challenge me. On the other hand, everyone else is hoping I'll spar with you. Both paths lead to the same conclusion." Qinming drained his cup in one gulp. What else could he say? Meng Jiu had been eager to exchange blows with him from the start, there was simply no escaping it. A faint smile graced Meng Ziyu's lips as she said, "How about this? After I fight you, I'll also spar with each of them in turn." On this point, Qinming felt he had found a kindred spirit. He also wanted to pummel those few. He set down his wine cup and said, "Very well. I will ask for a few pointers from eldest sister. However, we must compete at the same cultivation level." Regarding this point, Zhou Tian, who had previously sworn a Dao oath, actively upheld his promise, believing it was indeed only fair. Subsequently, he secretly exerted his influence to once again egg on second brother and third brother. In truth, this aligned perfectly with the wishes of Qian Cheng and Mu Xinian. They were naturally willing to facilitate the matter. Meng Jiu did not refuse. "Very well. I will use the Dao sealing ring to bind my own cultivation." She was a proud woman with a clear and definite sense of her own standing. Her convictions were strong. Even when she had been severely wounded by the ancient monster of that mysterious family in the past, she felt no shame. Now, she couldn't defeat that senior expert, but surely she could still teach his descendant a lesson. "Under heaven and earth, I alone am supreme." This was the mindset essential for many powerful cultivators. Without such confidence, how could one ever reach the absolute peak? Soon after, they concluded their banquet and left the cave dwelling's private room. Ji Xingran and Bai Zilan worked together to rent a venue spacious enough for a Grandmaster-level duel. It was still within the heavenly immortal Tianxian Tower, which featured both a gladiatorial arena woven with Dao patterns and a natural landscape with mountain ranges. There was no problem holding a Grandmaster-level duel in such a cave dwelling. Before the fight began, 6 great sages personally inspected the area for any surveillance formations or memory crystals. Only after they confirmed there were no issues did Qinming and Meng Jiu enter the arena. 5th realm, 3rd heaven, Qinming announced, his words concise. Hiss. Bai Zilan, who was still brooding over the tiger-headed and foolish-looking description, gasped in shock. Her frustration vanished instantly, and she stopped sulking. 23 years old, and already at such a high realm, it was truly terrifying. Impressive. Meng Ziu's bright eyes sparkled as she nodded in admiration. A divine ring entered her body, sealing a portion of her cultivation. Then, the divine ring left her marvelous body, taking with it a dense mass of life force, including her blood essence and spirit. That should be enough, Meng Jiu said. In the arena, covered in exotic metal and inscribed with Dao patterns, the two faced each other from a distance. Outside the arena, Ji Xingran and Bai Zilan watched tensely. They never imagined they would witness a battle between 2 great sages. Thrilled, they held their breath. Beside them, 4 great sages watched in solemn silence, their faces grave. Meng Ziu's skirt billowed as she stepped forward. Her white shoes and socks remained spotless, her snow-white calf glowing with a crystalline light. With a sudden whoosh, she used the shrinking ground to an inch technique and vanished from her spot. Boom. The void seemed to explode. Qinming felt a terrifying power surging toward him from all directions, omnipresent and inescapable. He realized just how horrifying Meng Ziu's speed truly was. A single person seemed to have split into dozens of bodies, surrounding him and attacking from every possible angle. It was a terrifying sight. Anyone else in his place would have been unable to even pinpoint her location. In fact, none of these attacks were feints, they were all real. Only her immense speed created the illusion of multiple afterimages. Qinming held nothing back. Golden threads wove around his body before he shot outward, his power radiating in all directions. Not even bothering to hide it anymore, huh? Zhou Tian muttered. Back when Qinming had fought him at the Bodhisattva's dojo, he had concealed these golden threads within a dazzling divine radiance, unwilling to reveal them. Mu Xinian, his white robes pristine and ethereal, said grimly, as expected, he's from that mysterious clan. In an instant, the entire void seemed to be pierced. The golden threads, like needles and divine spears, shone with blinding brilliance as they shot out in all directions, accompanied by a terrifying, metallic clang. It was as if thousands of flying swords were clashing. Streaks of light intertwined, and divine rainbows poured forth, weaving a vast web in the void, a visible manifestation of expanding order. Meng Ziu's attacks were ferocious, leaving countless afterimages as she relentlessly clashed with the golden threads. Damn it! Qinming's heart raced. Whenever he unleashed this full barrage of golden threads, few opponents could withstand it head-on, most would have to retreat to avoid its sharp edge. Yet, someone actually dared to fight him in a direct exchange of blows. It was truly astonishing. No wonder Meng Jiu had become the foremost of the 6 saints, her techniques were truly heaven-defying. In an instant, golden threads erupted from every pore of Qinming's body, shooting outward. The dense, surging divine energy would have pierced and torn apart any other opponent. But Meng Jiu was fighting him for the offensive, the slaughter continuing unabated. Something's wrong. Suddenly, Qinming sensed an anomaly. Amidst the metallic clang, golden threads were piercing through his own body, clashing with his internal power. Many of the golden threads twisted and shifted, colliding with one another. As expected of a dream insect, Qinming thought, his heart chilling. Her Tao is rooted in dreams. I was almost bested the very instant the battle began. Meng Jiu was indeed fighting him, but the intensity was not as fierce as he had imagined. In truth, she had deflected many of his attacks with subtle, clever maneuvers. She was disrupting his spiritual perception, manipulating the golden threads to make them attack each other. Such a tactic was incredibly dangerous. The slightest misstep would cause her to lose control, leaving her body to be pierced by the dense web of golden threads. It could only be said that her mastery of such precise control had reached the pinnacle of perfection. The moment Qinming realized her strategy, he immediately adapted his approach, preparing to make her play with fire and get burned. However, when her first technique met with failure, Meng Jiu instantly changed tactics. Without a sound or a trace, she vanished from the world, leaving no trace for his senses to grasp. A dream insect's core power lies in the word, dream, Qinming realized with a start. Is my perception being deceived, or have I been plunged into a dream in an instant? Yet, he remained undaunted. He activated the resonance of form and spirit, preparing to shatter the illusion. Boom! Qinming's body shuddered violently. His pure yang consciousness was actually being pried loose, threatening to be torn from his physical form. What kind of technique is this? To forcibly eject a person's consciousness, leaving behind a mere flesh and blood shell to be dealt with separately, to be broken down one by one. However, Qinming cultivated 3 paths simultaneously. His heavenly light-fused consciousness was deeply rooted within his body, making it difficult for outsiders to shake, let alone tear out. Buzz. The void trembled. Qinming's physical form and spiritual domain fluctuated violently. He was alarmed. His consciousness was truly being pried from his body. This was his first time experiencing such an attack. Someone had actually managed to threaten him to this extent. Yet, he remained calm. His physical body was not so easily seized. He had cultivated the body refinement Tao harmonization scripture, making his flesh a perilous prize for any opponent. Furthermore, his entire cultivation resided within his heavenly light consciousness. Being pried out like this, he had nothing to fear. At the same time, he saw the price his opponent had paid. Meng Ziyu's consciousness was also wandering outside her body. It was a near equivalent exchange, both of their spirits had been severed from their physical forms. Meng Ziyu was astonished. She had not expected to pay such a steep price. As the mist spread, she unleashed a series of attacks, a complementary technique designed to seize control of Qinming's body. With a sudden whoosh, Qinming's physical shell flew toward her. But Qinming himself dived forward, determined to thwart her plans. Their physical bodies and spirits immediately clashed at close range. Amidst the terrifying light barrier and the power warping the void, the two continued their battle in the spiritual realm. Swish. As Meng Ziyu's spirit drifted above Qinming's body, she suddenly dove down and merged into it. She was confident she could control her own body simultaneously. Thus, she abruptly seized her opponent's physical form. Starting with the ultimate move. Qinming remained undaunted. His own body was dangerous, but he wondered if hers was equally overpowered. Without hesitation, he merged into Meng Ziyu's body. Meng Ziyu's pupils constricted slightly. She had failed to instantly regain control of her own body as she had hoped. After taking control of her form, Qinming immediately put distance between himself and his opponent. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. The peerless and elegant Meng Ziyu now had her head tilted boldly, her arms swinging freely, and her long, straight legs were spread wide in a full split. Qinming stretched his limbs with unrestrained vigor. He grinned and said, "This is pretty good." Meng Ziyu radiated a strange power, locking onto her opponent. Qinming imitated the upright demon ape, thumping his chest several times with brute force before charging forward in a savage rush. Tiān, ha ha ha. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 639, Heavenly Immortal smashes a rock with her chest, 2 chapters combined. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. As 6th brother. Always this wild. Mu Xinian muttered. Though he had heard Zhou Tian briefly mention a few things, witnessing this scene firsthand still left him profoundly shaken. Meng Ziyu's head was tilted, her lips split in a grin as she performed a perfect one-legged split. She pounded her chest and roared at the sky in the crude manner of an upright ape demon, leaving even the great sages staring wide-eyed. After all, this was Meng Ziyu's physical body, her purple hair smooth as satin, her skin like congealed fat, her face a world-shaking beauty, her bright eyes reflecting the starry river. Such a banished immortal in the mortal realm. The contrast she presented now was simply too intense. Ji Xingran, fortunate enough to remain at the scene to watch the battle, stood dumbfounded, completely stunned. He muttered to himself, as a great sage-level fight. Always this. Bizarre. Bai Zilan stared, completely speechless, her expression a picture of bewilderment. The arena, forged from special materials, saw Dao patterns rising in vast patches across the ground as the two combatants collided violently. Though they maintained the height of normal humans, their movements were like 2 giants towering between heaven and earth, causing a colossal commotion. Each of Qinming's footsteps sent violent tremors through the arena. Though he now possessed a graceful and striking figure, he still exuded the oppressive aura of a humanoid dragon, ready to crush any tangible obstacle in his path. In a single exchange, he and Meng Ziyu clashed dozens of times. Even though they had swapped bodies, meaning any lethal blows would devastate their own original flesh, neither showed any intention of holding back. They fought with all their might. Divine radiance soared, and immortal light bloomed between them, evolving into a dozen mysterious techniques in the blink of an eye. It was a fight to the death. Hundreds of sword energy streaks pierced the heavens, and endless, dazzling blade lights tore through the night, flowing like rivers of stars that filled the void of the cave heaven world. Suddenly, the two separated and locked eyes. Yet, the pause lasted only an instant before the battle reignited with even greater ferocity. Meng Ziyu formed a hand seal. High above the arena, tribulation chi surged across the night sky, radiating a suffocating power as pitch-black clouds threatened to collapse onto the ground. It felt as if a torrential downpour was about to unleash. An aura of intense unease and crushing pressure descended, threatening to shatter the night sky and obliterate all life upon the earth. Meng Jiu first pointed the fingers she had used to form the seal at the churning, heavy black clouds above. Then, her hand traced a perilous arc through the air, her fingers now aimed directly at Qinming. With a deafening boom, the sky was pierced through, as if a vast, bottomless hole had been torn open. The suffocating power finally erupted. Sheets of lightning poured down in a dense, suffocating web, connecting heaven and earth as they engulfed the figure below. The scene was terrifying. It was like a torrential downpour, but every raindrop had been stretched and thickened into a pillar of blinding light, connecting the heavens to the earth in a blazing torrent. Yet, Qinming showed no fear. Around him, the ground steamed as tribulation clouds swirled. He pointed one hand to the night sky and the other to Meng Jiu, and instantly, lightning erupted from the earth. Thunder was one of the most terrifying forces in the universe, a symbol of absolute destruction and one of the great tribulations that ancient, high-level cultivators had to face. And here, these two were summoning heavenly lightning with a mere wave of their hands, clashing in a storm of divine wrath. In the heavens and on the earth, two kinds of thunder fire met and collided violently. This was truly, heavenly thunder inciting earthly fire, and a terrifying aura boiled over. Amidst the blinding lightning, the pitch-black clouds seemed to be torn apart by a giant, glowing hand. Countless bolts of lightning struck one another, annihilating each other in the process. The two figures were covered in electric light and shrouded in thunder. Even their strands of hair crackled with intense light, and arcs of lightning erupted from every pore of their bodies, yet they remained completely unharmed. Finally, the lightning scattered across heaven and earth, and the deafening thunder vanished. Qinming spoke, "Yours is yin thunder, and mine is yang thunder. When yin and yang complement each other, the world becomes clear." In the distance, Tai Yi's eyes were deep. He knew all too well that this was no yang thunder, but clearly his own primordial myriad thunder seal. Last time at the Bodhisattva's dojo, he had given sixth brother a chapter of thunder technique. Had he actually comprehended it to such a level? "You have some tricks," Meng Jiu said. Though she had temporarily swapped bodies, she remained as composed as ever, showing no sign of discomfort. Qinming's heart grew cold. She was too calm. Just moments ago, when he had made those crude gestures, this eldest sister had faced them with complete indifference, showing neither joy nor sorrow. Again. Qinming declared, once more pounding his chest and roaring like an upright ape demon. In the distance, several great sages wore stiff, awkward expressions. That is Meng Ziu's physical body, yet he keeps performing such crude gestures over and over. Even Zhou Tian covered his face. Would he be dragged down with Qinming later, facing Meng Ziu's retribution? After all, he had actively mediated and deeply intervened in this battle. Niu Wuwei's face was grimly serious. In a little while, do you think sixth brother will put on a public performance of smashing a rock on his chest? Damn it, stop talking, Zhou Tian urged, afraid that their sixth brother might actually try to imitate it if he heard. This minotaur looks stodgy, but he's actually anything but honest, Zhou Tian thought. The others' faces twitched slightly as they struggled to maintain their composure, fighting the urge to burst into inappropriate laughter. Qinming was observing Meng Ziu's expression, trying to resonate with her emotional fluctuations, but he still came up empty. Could it be? Qinming's heart jolted. Her prying out my spiritual consciousness and swapping bodies wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake, it was intentional. He pondered. He had left no flaws within his body, on the contrary, it was an extremely dangerous place for any outsider. He had even wrapped the tattered cloth in heavenly light and brought it out, leaving behind only an empty shell. Qinming's light of the spirit shone as he speculated on Meng Ziu's intentions. Could she be trying to explore his family's ultimate technique by searching within his physical body? He had not left behind a single golden thread, taking them all with him. If Meng Jiu hoped to borrow the residual power within his body to peer into the operational paths of his forbidden technique, she was destined for disappointment. Qinming did not act hastily, and Meng Jiu remained motionless. Both seemed to be calculating their next moves, and a brief silence fell over the field. Since he had considered those possibilities, Qinming began to explore this body. He wanted to investigate her domain and see if he could steal her mysterious technique. However, he was cautious, fearing there might be a forbidden zone or a dangerous explosive trap within this body. She couldn't be trying to use her physical body as a cage to imprison me, could she? Qinming shook his head. This is just a sparring match. Why would she go to such lengths? After thinking it over, he concluded that if she had intentionally entered his body, the most likely reason was his initial guess, she coveted his golden jade robe. The Dream Insect Clan, borrowing a body to understand the Tao. Qinming's eyes darkened. That was one of the most fearsome abilities of the Dream Insect Clan. He never imagined that Meng Jiu would be so eager to seize his body upon their first meeting. Qinming wanted to call her out publicly, but he feared she would lose her cool and resort to using her grandmaster-level strength to crush him, which would be a violation of the rules. As far as he knew, the so-called borrowing a body to understand the Tao required the target's spiritual domain to be controlled before it could be performed. But he hadn't left even a single wisp of pure yang consciousness behind. She couldn't break into his home. No, if she's after my ultimate technique, she must have made multiple preparations, Qinming thought, his expression turning serious. He couldn't afford to be careless against Meng Jiu, the leader of the Six Sages. If I use this body to perform a technique, will there be a problem? Qinming's heart grew heavy. Could Meng Jiu's marvelous body harbor some unknown secret? For instance, a special flesh and blood formation that could clearly record his energy circulation paths. Qinming probed for it. Although he found nothing, he remained cautious. After a short while, he smiled. He didn't need any special tricks to break the deadlock. He could simply use the silk book technique to unleash the mutated golden thread jade robe. Let her spy all she wanted, it wouldn't matter in the slightest. In Night Prefecture, the Chaos Force Forbidden technique had been shelved by the great ancestral courts of the Awakening Path, gathering dust for ages. No one had ever succeeded in cultivating it alone. Even with an ancestor's guidance, the technique would eventually cause the practitioner to explode, posing a fatal danger. If Meng Ziu's physical body had been specially prepared, she was destined to fail in her attempt to seize the opportunity. Moreover, Qinming planned to use the original, unmodified version of the Silk Book. With his current foundation, he could forcibly circulate it. Then, he thought of the White Tiger female Grandmaster. The two had once shared a single body. If she were indeed Meng Jiu, had she also been studying the forbidden technique back then? She had gained nothing the first time. Now, was her true body finally on the scene? Qinming gradually relaxed, the smile on his face widening. Niu Wuwei kept his face stern and commented with utmost seriousness, "Don't say I didn't warn you." When Sixth Brother smiles faintly, he's as elegant as an immortal. But as his smile deepens, he becomes incredibly bewitching. Zhou Tian turned his head and said, "Are you even looking at Sixth Brother? You're looking at eldest sister." Niu Wuwei explained earnestly, "Don't talk nonsense. Right now, that is Sixth Brother." Mu Xinian, clad in robes as white as snow, snapped open his folding fan with a flourish. His gaze was filled with admiration as he remarked, "It is a rare sight indeed to see our eldest sister, who usually exudes the aura of an empress, smiling so radiantly. A moment like this deserves to be captured on paper as a keepsake." Seized by artistic inspiration, he prepared to paint directly onto his fan. But the next instant, his expression froze. Qinming was rolling up his sleeves, his posture that of a rough and tumble man brimming with bravado. Yet, this image clashed violently with his slender, graceful frame and his face, which possessed the beauty of a heavenly immortal. Even the ever-cautious Ji Xingran couldn't hold it in. A smile tugged at his lips, and he quickly rubbed his face hard to hide it. Bai Zilan covered her face, unable to bear the sight. In her mind, Meng Ziu's features were flawless, her grace unparalleled, her presence always transcendent and elegant. Yet now, while her body remained beautiful, she was acting like a savage. Qinming revealed his snow-white, lotus root-like arm, clenching his fist to flex his muscles. Then, he teleported to the edge of the arena, uprooted a stone pillar carved with intricate Dao patterns, and wielded it as a weapon. Niu Wuwei's face remained impassive. Uprooting the weeping willow, he remarked. Then he corrected himself. This is an arena laid with a formation. Even the stones on the ground are nearly immovable. Sixth Brother is truly a man whose strength can uproot mountains and whose spirit can cover the world. Zhou Tian moved to cover Niu Wuwei's mouth. Stop talking. Mu Xinian, brush in one hand and paper fan in the other, found himself unable to even start painting as he watched Qinming's heroic figure soar. Ji Xingran and Bai Zilan were both left utterly bewildered. Was this something Meng Jiu, the same Meng Jiu who was known for her elegance and heavenly beauty, could possibly do? Even knowing that another soul inhabited her body, the sight was still an eyesore. Meng Ziu's expression finally shifted slightly. This Sixth Brother. He's not just naturally rebellious, he's positively malevolent. What kind of behavior is this? From what she knew of his family, weren't they the ones who most prized majesty and strictly adhered to the law? The man before her was a complete renegade, not just defying expectations but standing in stark opposition to everything his family represented. Meng Jiu noticed that Zhou Tian, Tai Yi, and Mu Xinian had all quietly activated their memory crystals, secretly recording the battle. Some people might appear frightened on the surface, but their actions remain as defiant as ever. Take Zhou Tian, for example. Though he had rushed to cover Niu Wuwei's mouth, he was far from idle himself, his hands moving in a flurry of gestures. The battle erupted once more. Qinming seized a pillar as thick as a water bucket and swung it down upon Meng Jiu. You're injuring your own physical bodies. Hold back. Niu Wuwei shouted. In truth, the pillar, though covered in Dao patterns that created a striking visual impact, couldn't inflict any real damage. It shattered instantly upon impact, sending a cloud of dust billowing into the air. Amidst the chaos, golden threads descended like a curtain of rain, each one a slender flying sword that sliced through the void with a resonant clang. They flooded the sky, completely submerging Meng Ziyu's position. Qin Ming's true body had undergone complete annihilation countless times before. How could he fear being impaled by his own golden threads? He was simply waiting to see if Meng Ziyu dared to use his body as a shield. If she did, he would instantly turn his blade upon himself and destroy this marvelous body right before her eyes. Qin Ming was fighting a proper duel, eschewing any underhanded tactics to face his opponent head-on. Meng Ziyu's expression remained calm. She dodged when necessary and attacked when the opportunity arose. So far, she too has shown no sign of resorting to underhanded methods. The next instant, Meng Ziyu's speed surged dramatically, becoming so immense that she was a mere blur. A white immortal mist rose from the arena floor. Most strikingly, a pair of translucent energy wings erupted from her back. They were adorned with brilliant star spots and radiated a divine, sacred glow. With a gentle flutter of her wings, the void twisted and seemed to collapse, vibrating with terrifying power. The star-speckled sky shimmered, the stars weaving together to form a brilliant river of stars that crisscrossed the night sky. Then, they all came crashing down. An overwhelming aura of destruction descended, as if the starry sky from outside the domain had reappeared, ready to fall upon the human world. Qin Ming tossed his long hair as his powerful aura soared. Golden glow erupted from him from head to toe, and even denser golden threads shot forth, growing thicker. The so-called golden threads had now become war spears, and they were still enlarging. In an instant, it was as if divine rainbows were tearing through heaven and earth. The night sky was a tapestry of brilliant stars. Qin Ming, however, charged against the starry sky. Each thick golden thread was unstoppable, piercing the night and impaling star after star. The entire sky of stars, as it collapsed, was like a corner of the universe falling. But now, one major star after another was pinned in place, instantly dimming and rapidly extinguishing. The sight was both magnificent and terrifying. Qin Ming pressed his advantage, launching an even more fierce attack. The dense, thick golden threads, like indestructible divine spears and brilliant immortal swords, pierced the night sky, thrusting into the starry universe and bearing down on Meng Ziyu. Meng Ziyu's expression was solemn. Her spiritual domain resonated, strengthening her physical body as she performed a supreme mysterious technique. Her slender fingers moved like lightning, continuously plucking at the golden threads. Suddenly, runes of fire erupted, and flowers of Dao resonance bloomed in succession, their metallic clanging echoing ceaselessly. She seemed to be playing a zither with her bare hands, plucking out a wondrous melody imbued with Dao resonance that conjured countless miraculous visions. At this moment, Meng Ziyu's expression was solemn and focused. To an outsider, Qin Ming's physical body appeared majestic and righteous, radiating an aura of unyielding integrity. Sixth brother actually has such a righteous side to him, Zhou Tian marveled. The same body, but a different soul, could it really make such a difference? Niu Wuwei nodded in agreement. When sixth brother fought him, he had been anything but a good person, always trying to ride on his back like a bull. The onlookers were secretly shaken. In a battle between cultivators of the same realm, the righteous light was truly formidable. Meng Ziyu used the power of her spiritual domain to interfere with Qin Ming's mysterious technique while simultaneously plucking the golden threads with her bare hands. She found this physical body to be exceptionally durable, allowing her to use it without any reservations. Qin Ming sensed something was wrong. His opponent was gradually adopting the mindset of a demonic cultivator. If this continued, would she really try to use his own body to tank the damage? To counter this, he retracted the golden threads, coating them densely over his skin, and charged in for close quarters combat. In a blood battle like this, it didn't matter which body got damaged. After all, he had long since grown used to his body shattering and reforming, it could regenerate with incredible speed. Meng Ziyu frowned. The physical body she possessed was incredibly resilient and perfectly suited her, but it still pained her to use it to attack her own original body. Boom. Qin Ming slammed into her with a powerful iron mountain shoulder strike, his movements utterly bold and unrestrained. His marvelous body instantly pressed against hers. Bang. Meng Ziyu spun around and met the impact with her own back. The two sages, back to back and heart to heart, both let out muffled grunts. Meng Ziyu's gaze shifted. This guy did that on purpose, didn't he? Zhou Tian spoke up kindly, eldest sister, I must warn you. Sixth brother is sometimes righteous and upright, but most of the time, he acts like a villain. You need to be careful. Qin Ming immediately retorted, fourth brother, you're slandering me and tarnishing my reputation. I'm just unconstrained in my manners. When it comes to the greater good, I've always been as radiant as the blazing sun in the sky. Meng Ziyu's eyes changed, and she decisively altered her fighting style. Fighting evil with evil, she would occasionally use Qin Ming's body as a shield while unscrupulously employing her psychic techniques to attack his consciousness domain. She stopped attacking her graceful and elegant body, instead using Qin Ming's own flesh and blood to block the strikes from her own slender jade hands. Her most powerful attacks were confined to the consciousness domain. So that's the kind of duel this is. Fine, I can do that too, it's just a psychic attack, right? Qin Ming didn't get angry, instead, he grinned. For a moment, Qin Ming's stunningly beautiful face thawed like ice melting in the spring, bringing a sense of rebirth and blossoming flowers. His newfound radiance was so dazzling that Ji Xingran could only stare in a daze, and even Bai Zilan, a woman herself, found it hard to look away. Qin Ming decisively launched his psychic attack. With a sharp rip, he tore off a large section of his sleeve and threw it out like a flying sword. Next, he exerted force through his legs and stomped hard, causing the hem of the skirt to explode outward, revealing fair, translucent calves and even a glimpse of the thighs above the knees. Come. Qin Ming beckoned with a wave of his hand. Without a doubt, Meng Jiu was employing a true, mystical technique of the psychic domain. As for Qin Ming, he was deploying a psychic attack from the physical domain. Kill. Qin Ming hoisted a broken stone pillar from the ground and charged forward with valiant courage. In the fierce clash that followed, he naturally reenacted the scene of a heavenly immortal smashing a rock on her chest. Sixth brother. Has gone mad. Isn't he afraid eldest sister will punish him severely for this later? The great sages were all stunned. Which of these two completely different types of psychic attacks was stronger? It was truly hard to say. Ripples of emotion stirred in Meng Ziyu's heart, shattering her usual, mirror-like calm. She couldn't help but ask, are you truly a demonic cultivator? Qin Ming replied, takes one to know one. Then, he began to walk with elegant, lotus-like steps, exaggeratingly swaying his hips in an increasingly wicked manner as he launched a new round of attacks. Zhou Tian marveled, I never expected sixth brother to have such a flamboyant side. This time, it was Niu Wuwei's turn to correct him with a grave expression. Are you watching sixth brother's graceful form? You're watching eldest sister's seductive and amorous side. Zhou Tian immediately tried to cover his mouth. Don't say such nonsense. In the arena, Qin Ming tossed his hair, his purple locks cascading like a waterfall. His eyes flickered with a coquettish charm, his gaze so captivating it seemed to bewitch all who saw him. Niu Wuwei broke free from Zhou Tian's grasp and praised, that look. Absolutely flawless. At this moment, as the two evil cultivators clashed, the outcome of their psychic attacks was becoming clear. Meng Jiu was struggling to cope. How could a scion of a mysterious clan, known for its emphasis on dignity and law, be acting like this? Qin Ming shot her a sidelong glance and said, Brother Zheng Guang, you can't lose focus during a great battle. He called out the name of his own physical body, and with a crack, his eyes flashed with lightning sparks. Clearly, this was actual lightning, yet it achieved the same effect as an alluring, lightning gaze, even more powerfully so. The great sages watching the fight were all petrified. As for Ji Xingran and Bai Zilan, they stood like statues, speechless and mentally dazed. Even Meng Jiu, whose Dao heart was as firm as rock, found it unbearable to see her own physical body so seductive and bewitchingly beautiful. A wave of goosebumps broke out all over her skin. Most crucially, her sworn brothers were recording the entire process with memory crystals. After it was over, she would inevitably have to strike a few times, beat them all up, and seize those crystals filled with a sense of guilt. Meng Jiu endured her discomfort and said, could you stop that? You're making me want to retch. Normally, a peerless beauty throwing a flirtatious glance would be a truly pleasing sight. But that was herself casting a spell on sixth brother's body, which made it unbearable. Excellent. Qin Ming captured even stronger emotional fluctuations and extracted some valuable information. He decided to keep going. In the domain of a fairy, he would use a mysterious psychic technique to defeat another mysterious psychic technique, resonate with her secrets, and uncover the truth he wanted to know. In an instant, Qin Ming seemed to take her advice very seriously and became solemn. At this moment, with his jade-like skin and bones, he was as cold as frost, once again restoring his transcendent heavenly immortal aura, sacred and inviolable. Furthermore, he recited a Tao comprehension poem, for 30 years I sought the sword, how many times have fallen leaves sprouted new branches. In an instant, a sprig of peach blossoms appeared by his ear, making him seem even more otherworldly and adding a touch of ethereal purity to his aura. Simultaneously, another sprig appeared in his hand. Then, with a flash of rosy light, a third sprig materialized in his mouth, its petals glistening with dew, exquisitely beautiful. For a moment, his face was framed by the peach blossoms, their crimson hues complementing his own. Brother Zheng Guang, do I look beautiful? Qin Ming, possessing Meng Ziyu's body, gently turned his head, a glance that could enchant 100 hearts. Though the scene was breathtaking, the soul within was that of a man. Meng Ziyu completely lost her composure. She wanted to gag, to vomit all over Zheng Guang's face. The great sage's expressions were a sight to behold. They had never dreamed they would see Meng Ziyu's body exude such grace, her every glance and smile captivating and soul-stirring. Niu Wuwei, who abstained from women, muttered, "It's over. My ultimate technique has been contaminated by the sixth brother. I can't use it anymore. Is the tiger slave imprint still there? Is it you?" Qin Ming launched his final attack. He felt he had broken through Meng Ziyu's psychic defenses and captured her emotional fluctuations, and now he wanted to uncover the truth directly. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 640, Perfect and Smooth, 2 chapters combined. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Qin Ming broke through a layer of psychic mist, resonating with Meng Ziyu's emotions and capturing the fluctuations of her consciousness. Found it. Is this your secret? A smile touched his lips as he witnessed scene after scene. Was this Meng Ziyu's past? Swoosh. Suddenly, a psychic sword light slashed out. It was earth-shattering and omnipresent, piercing through every consciousness. Its brilliance was unparalleled, illuminating the entire psychic domain. The hair on Qin Ming's neck stood on end. Was this the opponent's psychic trap? This sword did not strike the physical body, nor did it ignore space, it manifested directly within the opponent's psychic domain. Qin Ming had clearly sensed the opponent's thoughts. How could such a psychic sword suddenly slash out? With no time for detailed thought, in this critical moment, his pure yang consciousness merged with the heavenly light, becoming the most resolute and strongest force to autonomously counter that psychic sword light. Furthermore, Qin Ming donned heavy armor and sharp weapons, golden threads spreading across his body as his jade armor clanged. His pure yang consciousness took human form, wearing the golden jade robe, its entire body shimmering with a brilliant glow. This technique could be used by both his physical body and his spirit. At this moment, countless golden threads shot out, entangling the dazzling psychic sword light and fixing it in place, preventing it from striking down. That was just a layer of psychic mist. Qin Ming now understood. The Dream Insect clan was most skilled at manipulating psychic, spiritual power. This was a false consciousness barrier outside Meng Ziyu's core psychic domain, a psychic defense domain she had set up in advance. As expected of a clan that can borrow a body to understand the Tao and manipulate hearts, Qin Ming thought. Their techniques are truly unparalleled. Qin Ming's resonance technique rarely failed, yet today he had actually fallen into the rhythm she had orchestrated. If he weren't strong enough, that brilliant psychic sword light would have surely invaded the deepest recesses of his consciousness, and who knows what would have happened then. But now, he had blocked it. The dense web of golden threads bound the brilliant psychic sword, as if imbued with the power of time, stripping away its spiritual essence. The psychic sword dimmed, then became mottled with rust, and finally decayed, extinguishing in an instant. It disintegrated into psychic dust, which was then blown out of Qin Ming's psychic domain. Not far away, Meng Ziyu's expression turned grave. He had actually invaded her mind, triggered the psychic slash she had preset, and then blocked it head-on. Is he trying to challenge me in my own domain? At this moment, Qin Ming had a bunch of peach blossoms tucked behind his ear, another bunch clenched in his mouth, and a third bunch held in his hand. The petals were dripping with crystalline dew, exquisitely beautiful. Such a scene was so bewitchingly seductive and full of charm that even he found it hard to bear, let alone Meng Ziyu, the original owner of the body. Blah. Meng Ziyu gagged, starting to regret swapping bodies. However, to reap a reward, one must pay a price. She forced herself to remain calm. A brief moment of discomfort was a small price to pay for such immense benefits. Qin Ming tilted his head, watching her. The leader of the 6 sages can endure this. She showed no sign of trying to leverage her spiritual consciousness to quickly swap the bodies back. Clearly, she was plotting something significant. Outside the arena, Ji Xingran and Bai Zilan snapped back to their senses. Even witnessing a mere glimpse of that terrifying psychic sword light had nearly caused them to lose themselves completely. Is this the power of a great sage? The mere aftereffects of the battle had almost claimed them. Zhou Tian, Niu Wuwei, and the others rubbed their faces, feeling as if a layer of their skin, and the hair that had stood on end, had been scraped away. Sixth brother. Is a ruthless man, Mu Xinian sighed. He prided himself on his elegance and charm, but even he couldn't have gone this far if he had to cross-dress. Zhou Tian spoke up. We really can't compare. This is an essential quality for an evil path cultivator. As long as his mindset is strong enough, the one left feeling embarrassed is always the other person. Tai Yi commented, in a sense, this is a form of powerful psychic power, comparable to the psychic domain eldest sister has been cultivating so austerely. Niu Wuwei was more blunt, sixth brother's skin is thick enough to block psychic attacks. Qin Ming gave a slight shake, and the peach branch in his hand shattered, transforming into a mist of sword light that slashed toward his opponent. Petals fluttered across the sky, each one crystalline and clear. He strode with elegant steps, piercing through the rain of flowers at top speed, trailing the sword light as he closed in on his opponent. Amidst the clanging of swords and the fierce flashes of punches, the two entangled like bolts of lightning, teleporting instantaneously. After each unleashed a variety of extraordinary techniques, they abruptly sprang apart once more. During this exchange, Qin Ming had continuously attempted to resonate with his opponent's emotions. Finally, he confirmed it. This was Meng Ziyu's second dream domain, where truth is hidden, and all that is seen is illusion. Once the resonance failed, Qin Ming abandoned any further attempt to uncover the truth on the spot and focused entirely on the battle. Mu Xinian remarked in admiration, sixth brother has turned back into an ice mountain beauty. His control over this aura is impeccable, switching at will. His psychic cultivation is truly astonishing. Qin Ming was now devoid of joy or sorrow, his mind a vast, empty void. He prepared to hold nothing back, determined to end the fight as quickly as possible. In this state, he radiated an even more ethereal, immortal aura. At that moment, Meng Ziyu's physical body was slender and graceful, her hair cascading like a waterfall, her beautiful eyes like spirit lakes reflecting the moon. She walked with lotus-like steps, swaying with an incomparable charm that surpassed all other beauties. Opposite her, the Meng Ziyu possessing Qin Ming's body revealed a faint smile. Sixth brother, it is not too late to surrender now. Otherwise, I will have to use my true techniques. Qin Ming froze. He was not at a disadvantage, so why would she speak with such a tone? In an instant, he understood. Meng Ziyu hoped he would unleash his family's extraordinary techniques to their full extent, intending to perform an unconventional, borrowing a body to understand the Tao. Qin Ming surmised that this marvelous body was indeed problematic. It must contain a flesh and blood formation he had yet to discover, one that could potentially record the flow of his energy. If you want it, it's yours. He sneered inwardly. But why give without receiving? He would also attempt to steal her mysterious method. His physical body was not so easily seized. Deep within his flesh, three wondrous lights lay dormant. If activated, their fusion into one would rival a full power strike from him at his peak. Combined with the body refinement Tao harmonization scripture, the empty shell he left behind would become extremely dangerous. During the supreme blood battle, Qin Ming had nearly perished in the blood-colored forest when he encountered Tao Seed number 3 of the parasitic civilization, an entity far more powerful than him. He had only turned the tide by unleashing those three wondrous lights. However, this was merely a sparring session. There was no need for Qin Ming to reveal his trump cards. So far, Meng Ziyu had not discovered the three wondrous lights, just as Qin Ming had yet to find the flesh and blood formation within her. The mysteries of a living being's body were endless. It could harbor secret treasuries and hidden gateways, even a temporary possession would not be enough to uncover all its secrets. Qin Ming decided not to activate the three wondrous lights. Instead, he would merely draw upon the mysterious substance there, cautiously attempting to establish a resonance to sense the subtle changes within his own body. He intended to steal her technique. As long as he had the mysterious substance to anchor him, he could use resonance to control not just his own body, but even the bodies of Yang and Xiaochong. Therefore, even after his consciousness was pried out, Qin Ming remained calm and composed. If he wished to return, he could do so in the blink of an eye. If he willed his physical body to lash out against his opponent, he could at least injure Meng Ziyu, even if he couldn't defeat her outright. This was his foundation, the very source of his confidence to be so, unrivaled and peerless, here. Since his opponent was coveting his family's ultimate technique, Qin Ming decided to play along. He began to act, quietly initiating resonance and silently probing the changes within his own physical body. All of this happened in the flash of a thought. He told himself, fine, I'll play this game with you. Let's see who suffers the greater loss, and who can truly seize the true scripture from the flames. With that, Qin Ming's aura shifted once more. He shed the persona of the Ice Mountain Beauty and returned to his, unrestrained, style. Qin Ming played a game of patience with his opponent, cautiously resonating with the three strange lights. He hoped to achieve his goal of stealing the technique before she noticed. And so, the peerless beauty, whose every glance could enchant 100 admirers, returned. This marvelous body even gazed affectionately at Qin Ming's own physical form from time to time. The four sages, watching the battle, having been nourished by witnessing the essence of the situation, finally found it too much to bear. After all, beneath that peerless beauty lay the soul of a man. Such a scene, though stunning at first glance, left nothing but goosebumps in its wake. Yet Qinming paid no mind, stealing the show with his breathtaking beauty and throwing himself into the act. He was only trying to keep Meng Jiu entangled in a stalemate, buying time for his nefarious schemes. Meng Jiu, however, had no need to stall. She wanted Qinming to launch an all-out attack and reveal the secrets of his strongest mysterious techniques. Thus, she found the torment unbearable, watching her own body throw flirtatious glances and send lightning sparks of desire toward Qinming's physical form. Sixth brother, if you keep this up, don't blame me for losing my temper, Meng Jiu declared. Clang! A violet sword glow shot from her fingertips. She slowly lowered it, threatening, who's afraid of whom? If you keep messing around, I'll castrate myself. Qinming's expression froze, and he stumbled backward. Outside the arena, Ji Xingran and Bai Zilan stood stunned, while the four great sages' faces twitched. They marveled in awe, these two were truly ruthless. You may be a grandmaster capable of flesh regeneration, Meng Jiu said, but this dark history will surely be recorded by their memory crystals. You'd better think this through. Qinming had no desire to join Duke Pei's ranks. The mere thought of such a scene sent a violent shiver through his body. He nodded immediately. All right, in that case, let's go all out and end this fight quickly. Qinming retrieved two massive warhammers from the tattered cloth. He had already forgotten which Grandmaster's bracelet he had looted them from. He abandoned his usual flirtatious glances and elegant posture, swinging the warhammers in a brutal barrage. In this moment, he seemed possessed by an ancient overlord. As long as Zheng Guang didn't act too pretentious, Meng Jiu could accept this kind of crude, savage attack. Instantly, the arena erupted into chaos. Even the formation, inscribed into the ground, cracked under the impact of the hammer strikes, sending dust and debris billowing into the air. Countless golden threads shot out from Qinming's warhammers, completely distorting the void. Meng Jiu, besides her explosive increase in speed, was also unleashing a forbidden ultimate technique. Sometime during the battle, a great mist had blanketed the entire battlefield. She merged with the night, vanishing into the mist. This was her racial talent, turning reality into illusion. She had arrived from the dream realm. Now, reality and illusion were intertwined, constantly shifting. Neither the spectators outside the arena nor those within the fog could tell them apart. Boom! Boom! Qinming hurled his warhammers and met his enemies empty-handed. A tangible spiritual domain materialized around him. The golden threads erupting from his body merged with the spiritual domain waves, creating endless ripples. At this moment, the Sumeru spiritual domain, the heavenly demon domain. All were superimposed upon one another. With the forbidden secret technique active, the golden threads transformed into spiritual domain waves, rendering Qinming immune to all techniques. The great mist, and the indistinguishable blur between illusion and reality, simply dissolved as they neared him. To an outside observer, however, the scene was different. The golden threads of forbidden technique from the mysterious clan shot outward, continuously splitting into endless Dao patterns that permeated the void, omnipresent and all-encompassing. It's useless, Meng Jiu said. Your physical body is real, and your consciousness exists. Once you enter my domain, you will find it impossible to escape. She was everywhere, appearing as both phantom and true body, her figure manifesting all around the great mist. Outside Qinming's body, golden ripples expanded, sweeping across all creation. One by one, Meng Jiu's various avatars popped like bubbles, only to reform in an instant. She was eroding the power of Qinming's true existence, dissolving it into nothingness. I am impervious to all technique. What can you possibly do to me? Qinming declared, his voice deep and steady. He refused to believe she could erase the power of the golden threads out of thin air. She must be rapidly depleting her own strength in the process. If it came down to a contest of foundations, he feared no opponent within his own realm. Qinming pressed his advantage, relentlessly slashing through the domain. Boom! He swept away the great mist, shattering every obstacle in his path. Meng Jiu's numerous spiritual bodies merged into one. Standing in the distance, her expression grave and solemn, she assumed a majestic posture, formed the 9 great spiritual seals, and unleashed them. Her speed reached the absolute limit. As her eyes opened and closed, they reflected the sun, moon, stars, and the galaxy. With a thunderous boom, it felt as if the heavens and earth were being recreated. Qinming was genuinely shocked, feeling a tearing pain in his mind. He saw Meng Jiu standing tall within his consciousness. Sowing the Tao. Accompanied by an incomprehensible incantation, Meng Jiu's figure grew clearer in Qinming's sea of consciousness. Her entire body shimmered with starlight, bringing with her a rain of light, intending to take root and grow here. This time, the vast ocean of Qinming's mind was no longer filled with countless golden threads. He had switched to a different technique. A massive sea eye appeared, swirling madly and devouring everything in its path. He utilized another unique property of the chaos force to swallow the reflection of Meng Jiu within his heart. The black vortex seemed capable of crushing even the mottled flow of time, annihilating all existence. A wisp of pure spiritual energy leaked out and was absorbed by Qin Ming. The rest of the spiritual power, however, was crushed and scattered, vanishing into the void. Outside, amidst the great mist, Meng Jiu let out a muffled groan and stumbled backward. She had directly manifested her terrifying technique within his consciousness, yet it had been mysteriously blocked, resulting in her complete failure. Qin Ming spoke, "Eldest sister, you must have wanted to see if I had mastered the longevity power granted by the golden jade robe. I will grant you your wish." Golden threads pierced through his flesh, and jade armor materialized. His body was now clad in the golden jade robe, and his consciousness was likewise transformed. Of course, he was still circulating the old version of the Silk Book, channeling the mutated longevity force. Qin Ming stopped holding back, giving her the chance to steal his technique. Meng Jiu smiled. "Sixth brother, you think you have the upper hand. Everything you just experienced was an illusion. Now that the dream has ended, we return to the starting point." The starry sky above began to spin in reverse. Even the onlookers were left dazed, unable to tell if the scenery before them was real or a mirage. Qin Ming's expression darkened. They had returned to the exact moment they first faced off in the great mist. He was certain that what had just happened wasn't a dream. Yet, the reality was that time itself seemed to have reversed, bringing them back to the beginning, to that very first moment. Qin Ming sighed. "Interesting. A forbidden extraordinary technique like this. It makes me yearn for it." This domain shattered the line between reality and illusion, allowing her to reshape events and overturn the rules of order. This time, the two fought fiercely. Qin Ming even managed to wound Meng Jiu. But at the final moment, she spoke again. "All is illusion, return to the origin." With a single sentence, everything reset to the beginning once more. It was as if she were allowed to make mistakes and then correct them, as if the events that had transpired could be undone. A heavy weight settled in Qin Ming's heart. In a life and death struggle, such a forbidden technique would be utterly terrifying. His eyes burned with envy, and he longed to steal the technique. To achieve this, he spared no effort in intensifying the resonance of the three wondrous lights. In truth, this technique allowed him to pinpoint his own true body's exact location within the great mist. Yet, Qin Ming made no move to attack. Like Meng Jiu, he was earnestly cultivating the Dao-stealing technique. After being sent back to the starting point 9 times in a row, Qin Ming's gaze shifted. Meng Jiu had been severely wounded at times and lightly injured at others. She must have been deliberately holding back to let him reenact the extraordinary technique. Her injuries were controllable. Her ultimate goal was to allow her physical body to repeatedly record the opponent's energy circulation path. At the same time, Qin Ming had also tested her limits. Meng Jiu could perform the technique 9 times consecutively, and she had fully exploited every single one. Therefore, even as her pure yang consciousness bled faint spiritual blood, she wore a smile of profound satisfaction. Qin Ming, too, was smiling, feeling that his own gains were substantial. Both saw genuine joy reflected in the other's expression. "That should be enough," Meng Jiu said softly. Instantly, the great mist surged backward, transforming into a hazy light that enveloped her completely. It formed a cocoon around her, as if nurturing a new life. Qin Ming threw a punch. Countless golden threads erupted from his fist, piercing forward and causing the void to tremble and collapse. The cocoon teleported, evading the strike. Meng Jiu burst from the cocoon in an instant. All her injuries were gone, and she had not only recovered but seemed to have surpassed her previous peak state. Transparent wings emerged from her back, shimmering with brilliant star spots. She teleported repeatedly, closing in on Qin Ming. Was this her final, lethal strike? Meng Jiu had become aggressive, daring to clash head-on with the longevity power emanating from Qin Ming's golden threads. As she broke free from the cocoon, she had accumulated an immense, terrifying power. This was her strongest battle body. Qin Ming did not flinch, meeting her head-on. However, the moment they touched, a peculiar resonance occurred, and a mysterious glow flowed through their bodies. Meng Jiu was not fighting to the death. Instead of exploiting her strongest battle body to crush him, she had chosen to steal his Tao. Undoubtedly, her techniques were more sophisticated this time. She was directly utilizing her race's unique ability, borrowing a body to understand the Tao. As their two bodies and two souls connected, the mysterious glow flowed, and they resonated with each other. She was forcibly attaining enlightenment. Qin Ming smiled. He circulated the old version of the Silk Book to resist, no longer hiding his own power as he continuously resonated with the three wondrous lights. Meng Jiu's eyes grew brighter and brighter. She even attempted to delve deeper into Qin Ming's consciousness, but several of her afterimages were pierced by golden threads, and a portion of her spiritual power was erased by a black vortex. This time, she stopped. However, she didn't mind. She was already certain that this body swap had yielded immense gains, and her mission was a complete success. Meng Jiu smiled. Sixth brother, though you are young, you stand above your peers in the same realm. You truly are an anomaly. I am in awe. Having gained what she sought, she did not hold back her praise. Qinming also smiled. Eldest sister's talent is unparalleled among our generation, stunning the world. I admire you. Finally, Meng Jiu's expression shifted slightly. She sensed a strange power lurking within her sixth brother's body, one she had failed to detect earlier. It seemed that in a life or death struggle, if she had swapped bodies, she would have suffered a heavy blow right from the start, perhaps even a crushing defeat. But there were no what-ifs in this world. Had this been a blood battle, she would never have been so reckless. Tonight, she had only come to exchange mysterious techniques, and she had already achieved her goal. Therefore, she felt no disappointment. Instead, her smile grew even more radiant. Qinming felt as if a gentle breeze were brushing past him. His mood was ecstatic. He was certain he had snatched some of Meng Jiu's forbidden extraordinary techniques, which he might be able to replicate. Zhou Tian spoke up. Eldest sister, sixth brother, your duel is over. Are you still admiring each other? Outside the arena, several people were watching the two of them. Meng Jiu and Qinming were still holding hands, their bodies pressed together as a mysterious light continued to flow between them. Neither had let go immediately, wanting to be absolutely sure of their results. Only upon hearing Zhou Tian's voice and feeling the gazes of the others did they abruptly break their hold. Meng Jiu had recorded her findings from two different perspectives, first through the flesh and blood formation, and then by borrowing a body to understand the Tao. She was confident there would be no issues now. After they separated, Meng Jiu once again activated the forbidden extraordinary technique, prying into Qinming's consciousness to reclaim her own body. At that moment, Qinming stopped holding back. He fully resonated with her, using 3 streaks of miraculous light to inwardly examine the subtle changes in his own physical form. Meng Jiu was startled. The instant she left his body, she felt a gentle touch. Turning back, she caught a fleeting glimpse of another sixth brother's pure yang consciousness smiling at her, guiding her departure. But before she could dwell on it, their bodies were swapped back in an instant. Was it an illusion? No. Meng Jiu's expression turned grave. She felt that sixth brother was hiding his true depth, making him a formidable opponent. If Qinming had chosen to resist at the final moment, Meng Jiu might not have been able to return to her own body. However, this was no blood battle to the death, and Qinming would not make things difficult for her. After he returned to his body, his spirit and physical form merged, and all techniques became wondrous. Meng Jiu smiled and said, Sixth brother, you have won this battle, but I cannot be said to have lost. I am quite satisfied. Her bearing was elegant, though her torn dress marred the aesthetic somewhat. Qinming cupped his hands in a salute and said, there are no losers. Both had their own schemes and were inwardly mocking the other. When the day of the thunderous storm arrives, let's see if you can still smile then. A happy outcome for all. They exchanged smiles, speaking the words in unison. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.